Chapter 780. The mountain wind was so strong that they couldn't even open their eyes. Their ears were filled with the howling of the wind. Lin Muyu circulated her divine power. Her eyes shone with a faint golden light, allowing her to see everything in the valley clearly. Lu Bai, on the other hand, had no choice but to use all his power to resist the mountain wind. The cloak he was wearing was torn apart by the mountain wind. "Ah, my cloak. I bought this cloak with 3 gold coins." Lu Bai was heartbroken. Si Kongyao giggled from the side. "Be careful, there are bolts." Lin Muyu shouted. As expected, the people on the ground had already noticed the uninvited guests in the sky. A large group of mercenaries on the drill ground quickly spread out. There were more than a dozen ballistas set up around the drill ground, and the bolts were all aimed at the sky. Clang, clang, clang. Along with the sound of springs being fired, the giant ballistas with the iron nets were scattered into the sky. "Be careful, the bolts have been tempered with the essence of the demon heart stone." Qin Hang shouted. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, and the others immediately became serious. The demon heart stone was the nemesis of God state experts. Who would dare to be careless? Buzz. The ice origin sword blasted out with a biting cold storm, and the demon heart hunting net that was used to hunt giant dragons and dragon knights was torn apart. Not far away, Si Kongyao summoned an ice wall to block the iron nets. Zhuang Xiaoyu brandished his purple gold fan and easily tore through the iron net. However, his gaze was cast in Lin Muyu's direction. He had just discovered that Lin Muyu was actually using an extremely superior wind elemental law of divine power. This made him even more puzzled. Which law did this kid specialize in? Why was he able to use the ice, fire, light, and wind element divine powers so easily? Furthermore, his attainment in each law was unfathomable. This person was not simple. If I fight him, can I win? Zhuang Xiaoyu asked himself, but his heart was full of worries. Although he killed the demon king, he was also injured. Although Lin Muyu killed the demon venerable, it was hard to say whether he could kill the demon king easily. If that was the case, Zhuang Xiaoyu's strength was definitely below Lin Muyu's. Thinking of this, Zhuang Xiaoyu glanced at Si Kongyao again. Along the way, Si Kongyao's attitude towards Lin Muyu was very obvious. She was very intimate with Lin Muyu. Sometimes, it was so intimate that it was a little out of line. Even when they were walking together, they looked so compatible. Zhuang Xiaoyu could not help but feel a twinge of pain in his heart. As the number 1 rising star of the Tianji Empire, he was now inferior to Lin Muyu. "Since you gave birth to you and he Xingliang, young hero has made me so miserable. Be careful, someone has barged into the mountain. Ring the bell." Flaming wolf smoke. Inform our brothers in the valley to send reinforcements. On the drill ground, a general holding an iron spear shouted loudly. Dang, dang, dang. The piercing sound of a bell reverberated in the air. Black smoke rose from the Devil's Palm Mountains in the distance. It was indeed the smoke signal. No one knew how many mercenaries were stationed in this huge canyon, but once they gathered together, they would definitely be a terrifying force to be reckoned with. On the ground, the general holding the iron spear suddenly leaped up. His body was filled with divine power. He was also a God state expert. "It's Saint Martial Venerable. Be careful," Qin Hang shouted in a low voice. However, this Saint Martial Venerable did not seem to be that strong. He shouted and stabbed his long spear at Zhuang Xiaoyu. Zhuang Xiaoyu responded calmly. He deftly blocked the tip of the iron spear with his purple gold fan and used his dark force to easily block it. In the next moment, the divine power surged out and turned into a whirlwind that wrapped around the general's body. Zhuang Xiaoyu waved his arm and shouted in a low voice, "Get lost! Absolute wind god storm coiling dragon." Ah, the general was caught off guard. He concentrated all his divine power on the tip of the spear, but he did not expect this seemingly gentle young man to have such a perfect control of his power. He skillfully pushed aside the general's divine power. Therefore, the direction the tip of the spear was pointed at was Lin Muyu. He stepped on the void and increased his power to an even higher level, stabbing straight at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. She could not help but secretly find it funny. Was Zhuang Xiaoyu trying to test her strength? Thinking up to this point, she did not hesitate to increase her power to about 70%. Starlight filled the Ice Origin sword. She directly slashed at the opponent's spear with first appearance of Starlight. Clang. Metal and stone collided, and Starlight flew. The hasty attack directly caused the general's body to fall. He stepped on the ground with a bang, and the divine power of first appearance of Starlight was released from the soles of his feet. A shock wave spread out in all directions, and a group of mercenaries was thrown off their helmets and armor. They were in a sorry state. The general also stepped on the soil and took 3 steps back. His face was filled with disbelief. He looked up at Lin Muyu, who looked at ease in the sky. How is this possible? Who exactly are you? Lin Muyu was still carrying Lu Bai with one hand. The impact of the opponent's 9 Heavens Paradise divine wave on her right arm had dispersed easily. She smiled and said, "We are travelers from the Tianji Empire. We are here to pay a visit to leader LV Feng. Please pass a message for us." People from the Tianji Empire? The general's eyes turned cold. We, the Pishio mercenary group, have always been content with a corner of the world. We enjoy a life of freedom. We have nothing to do with the Tianji Empire. I wonder, why are you here? We simply want to see Lord LV Feng, Si Kongyao said with a smile. All right then. Please wait for a moment at the drill ground. I will go and invite the leader. Thank you. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, and the others landed on the ground. The Pishio mercenaries around them were very nervous. Many of them had pulled their bows and arrows and pointed them at them. Their arrowheads were a little black. They must be demon heart arrows. The Devil's Palm Peaks did not lack demon heart stones. Naturally, they did not lack demon heart arrows. Even a few huge ballistas in the distance were pointed at them. Each ballista was equipped with more than 10 arrows. They were continuous crossbow bolts. Lin Muyu was silent. She watched everything here closely. Naturally, she had other plans in mind. Not long after, the door of the green brick building in front of them slowly opened. A group of people surrounded a man in armor and walked out. Needless to say, the man in the middle was LV Feng. He was a little fat, but he was very strong. His clothes were messy and his face was slightly red. Zhuang Xiaoyu could not help but frown. As expected of the greedy and lustful LV Feng, he is actually lewd in broad daylight. Even in broad daylight, he doesn't let go of the opportunity to enjoy himself. Lin Muyu said, "If you want to spar with LV Feng, who will go first?" It's a great opportunity to take advantage of the fact that he has just consumed a lot of profound qi. What do you mean by consuming profound qi? Si Kongyao turned around and looked at him. She asked very seriously. Lin Muyu pondered. She did not know how to answer. Zhuang Xiaoyu said, "Yao, don't ask this kind of question. This is a man's business." However, this indirectly reflected a problem. Si Kongyao was still a girl who was not married yet. Her understanding in this area was clearly a blank. Lu Bai kindly explained, wasting one's essence qi refers to the matters of love between a man and a woman. Essence qi is the crystallization of the human body's essence. For a man, after consuming some of his essence qi, both his physical strength and divine power will be greatly damaged. It's equivalent to a period of weakness. I think this is probably what young hero meant. Si Kongyao's little face immediately turned red. She said, all men are bad." The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth rose. She did not know where this little girl's understanding had gone wrong. However, it did not matter. There was no need to care about her. "Who is looking for me?" LV Feng walked slowly surrounded by a group of high-level mercenaries. The ruddiness on his face was gradually dissipating. It was replaced by paleness, which was caused by excessive consumption of profound qi. He glanced at the people one by one. When he saw Shang Qian and Si Kongyao, his eyes suddenly brightened. He said, "Oh, there are such beautiful women who can topple a country." Zhuang Xiaoyu squinted and went forward to the etiquette of the Tianji Empire. He said, "I am Zhuang Xiaoyu, the son of Zhuang Xian, the premier of the Tianji Empire. This is Miss Si Kongyao of the Tianji sect." The other miss is Shang Qian of the Tianji city. He only said the names of these three people, probably because these three people had the highest status. However, if Zhuang Xiaoyu knew that Lin Muyu's real identity was King Qin, one of the three kings of the Qin Empire, he would probably not say so. It turns out that you are the new talents of the Tianji Empire? LV Feng squinted, and the lust in his eyes disappeared. He was a man who knew when to advance and when to retreat. After knowing the identity of these people, he naturally would not have any improper thoughts. After all, the Tianji Empire could not be provoked. May I know what you have come to my Pishio mercenary group for? There's nothing important. Zhuang Xiaoyu smiled slightly. It's just that I have long heard that Lord LV Feng has swept the Blackstone Empire with a fire blade and is almost invincible. Therefore, we juniors have come to visit you. Please teach us, Lord LV Feng. You have come to compare martial arts with me? LV Feng could not help laughing. Interesting. A few juniors are so arrogant. Zhuang Xiaoyu, don't think that you are so great because you are the #1 new talent of the Tianji Empire. Believe it or not, you can't even take 3 strikes of my fire blade. Zhuang Xiaoyu laughed. If it is true, I, Zhuang Xiaoyu, am sincerely convinced. Then come. Wait. LV Feng waved his hand, gesturing for his subordinates to step back and remove the arrow formation. He said, if it is just a competition, it will be very boring. Why don't we make a bet? A bet? What kind of bet? If I win, I want to take away a treasure from you. If I lose, you can take away something from my stronghold. How about it? LV Feng narrowed his eyes and said with a confident smile, Young Master Zhuang, do you dare? Why not? Zhuang Xiaoyu said. Tell me, how many moves will it take to determine the winner? 10 moves. LV Feng said calmly. It will only take 10 moves to determine the winner. All right. Zhuang Xiaoyu nodded and said, Then please teach me, Lord LV Feng. Buzz. LV Feng stood where he was, but a prairie fire burned around him, forcing Si Kongyao, Shang Qian, and the others to retreat. What a strong fire law divine power. Si Kongyao was secretly shocked. It seemed that Zhuang Xiaoyu was going to be at a disadvantage. LV Feng's fire divine power was at least at the 50th Grotto Heaven realm. No one would have thought that a mere mercenary group's leader had hidden such a cultivation. Chapter 781. Hong. The raging flames surrounded the long blade like a roaring dragon. LV Feng's aura was extremely majestic. With a loud roar, he revealed the aura of a powerhouse that was completely different from a greedy and lecherous person. The long blade fell from the sky and attacked Zhuang Xiaoyu from above. Before the long blade fell, the aura had already shrouded the ground, making it impossible for Zhuang Xiaoyu to dodge. After a cold snort, Zhuang Xiaoyu gathered all the strength in his body. This was the first time he used his full strength since he was injured. He could use at least 90% of his peak strength. He held the purple gold fan horizontally, and 90% of the power of the storm coiling dragon swept out, heading straight for LV Feng's chest. Ha! In the midst of LV Feng's ferocious laughter, Zhuang Xiaoyu flew out like a cannonball with a bang. His face instantly turned pale, and the purple gold fan almost flew out of his hand. His arm felt as if it was filled with lead, and it was difficult to lift it. The intense burning pain spread throughout his body, and he only managed to stabilize himself after taking dozens of steps back. His body shook, and divine power seeped out of his body, dispersing the waves of divine power from the 50-second paradise that LV Feng had blasted into his body. However, his heart was getting colder and colder. LV Feng was so powerful. How was the taste of the first move? LV Feng stood majestically in the air and looked down at Zhuang Xiaoyu. He stroked his beard and smiled. Young man, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How do you think your grandfather established himself in the Blackstone Empire? Zhuang Xiaoyu was filled with hatred, and his face was filled with anger and shame. The #1 talent of the Tianji Empire had actually been humiliated like this. This was simply unacceptable. However, the difference was right in front of him. He was completely defeated in the battle between the 29th and 52nd Paradise. Even if he had the cast Immortal Fate and his opponent had the Mortal Fate, the difference was obvious. It's not over yet. Zhuang Xiaoyu's aura sank, and he immediately launched the next move. The surrounding wind seemed to be tearing everything apart. It was the third move of the absolute wind god, tearing heaven and earth. Child's play. LV Feng stood tall in the air, and the surroundings were once again set ablaze. Xiao xiao, sounds rang out unceasingly as the flames spun around like vines, forming a huge whirlpool. He shouted in a low voice, "Watch how this daddy's endless fire domain breaks your divine wind extinction." The flames were like a whirlpool, constantly devouring Zhuang Xiaoyu's wind blades. Crackling sounds of energy colliding resounded in the air, causing the mercenaries on the ground to retreat again and again in fear of being affected by this battle between gods. In the end, the flames won against the wind blades. Whoosh! Lu Feng's figure spun as he broke through the void. In the next moment, he had already appeared above Zhuang Xiaoyu's head. His saber slashed down like lightning as he roared, "Watch out for my saber." Close combat was what Zhuang Xiaoyu, a cultivator of the law of wind, feared the most. In his haste, he hurriedly used his purple gold fan to block, but with a dang sound, his arm had already been knocked away. He was barely able to block, but LV Feng's body was like a spinning top, and he quickly sent a second strike down. With a poochie sound, blood splattered, and a finger-long wound appeared on the left side of Zhuang Xiaoyu's face. Wah! Zhuang Xiaoyu retreated again and again. His injuries were not serious, but the confidence in his heart was almost completely shattered. His divine power astral wall had actually been instantly pierced by a saber. What kind of blow was this? After stabilizing his body, Zhuang Xiaoyu panted miserably, but he did not show any signs of admitting defeat. He gently waved his purple gold fan, and dimensional cracks appeared around him. Those were the starting points of the dimensional wind blades. In the blink of an eye, the dimensional wind blades covered the sky and earth, dancing wildly in the surroundings. It was extremely terrifying. Zhuang Xiaoyu's figure slowly rose up, and he stood amidst the lightning and thunder like a god. That's more like it. Lu Feng stroked his beard and laughed. Thinking back, the Zhuang family's ultimate technique was indeed unique on the continent. However, in the hands of your generation, its power was greatly reduced. If the Zhuang family's ancestor had used the Wind God Absolute, perhaps the first 3 moves would have been enough to defeat me. As for you, you dare to challenge me with your half-baked cultivation? You're simply asking to be humiliated. What's the point of saying so much? Zhuang Xiaoyu could not bear the humiliation and roared, "If you have the guts, then come and break this young master's dimensional chaos /" Ha! LV Feng laughed maniacally. "Open your dog eyes, and I'll break it for you to see." Flames surged and LV Feng roared. The divine power around his body quickly scattered, and his entire body was already in a huge ball of fire with a radius of nearly 10 meters. This ball of fire was like a barrier protecting him, and when the dimensional wind blades attacked, the ball of fire would definitely blast out a saber light to disperse the dimensional wind blades. Ping-a-ping-ping. The densely packed sounds of slashing interweaved into one. After nearly half a minute, Zhuang Xiaoyu's dimensional chaos /, which had almost exhausted his divine power, could not break through LV Feng's wall of fire. He could not help but take a step back, and his face was full of shock. How is this possible? How can a mere mortal be so powerful? Swish! An opening suddenly appeared in the huge ball of fire, and LV Feng shot toward Zhuang Xiaoyu like a sharp arrow with his long saber. The long saber swung, and another wound appeared on the other side of Zhuang Xiaoyu's face. He whimpered, and before he could react, LV Feng's body sank, and his iron fist filled with flame god power smashed straight into Zhuang Xiaoyu's abdomen. Bam! Zhuang Xiaoyu's body crashed into the short wall like a cannonball, and only stopped after passing through 3 layers of short walls. He lay there with his face covered in dirt, and even breathing was a little difficult. Big brother Xiaoyu. Si Kongyao was stunned, and she quickly flew over to help Zhuang Xiaoyu up. She quickly used her divine power to replenish his strength. Yao, don't help me. Zhuang Xiaoyu supported himself with the broken wall and stood up shakily. His face was full of hatred as he looked at LV Feng, who was in the air, and said, I've lost, and I accept it wholeheartedly. Just tell me what treasures you want from me. Whether it's the purple gold fan or the treasures in my space bag, I'll give them to you if you want them. There's no need, young Master Zhuang. LV Feng smiled coldly, raised his long saber and said, You've already given me your treasures. What do you mean? Don't you understand? LV Feng pointed a finger at Zhuang Xiaoyu's face and said, I hate handsome men like you the most in my life. You think you can sleep with any woman you want just by relying on your looks? Exactly what do you have? Are you even worthy? I hate you people to death, so I cut your face twice. Let me tell you, in this world, it's fine if your face isn't good-looking enough, but your fists must be hard enough. Do you understand? LV Feng stood majestically in the air, and his beard fluttered in the wind. He actually gave off the vibe of a senior who had attained enlightenment. His face somewhat resembled someone, Wumingda. I've learned something. Zhuang Xiaoyu's face was pale. This time he was truly convinced. Although LV Feng was only a mortal, his attainments in martial arts far surpassed his. This was a true powerhouse. At this moment, LV Feng's gaze fell on Si Kongyao. He said, The beloved daughter of the Celestial Enlightenment sect's sect leader, Si Kongyao, do you want to challenge me? If you want to challenge me, I've already thought of what I want. Si Kongyao was startled. What do you want? Other than your first time, what else can I want? LV Feng didn't lose his cool and said with a smile. Shameless. Si Kongyao was embarrassed and angry. She gritted her teeth. Shang Qin hurriedly said, Yao, don't be rash. Even young Master Zhuang Xiaoyu lost. You must not be rash. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll fall into his trap. Shang Qian even regretted agreeing to come to the Devil's Palm Peaks. They had underestimated LV Feng too much. It was like sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. Lin Muyu also said, don't be rash. Chen Hang hasn't made a move yet. Maybe he can win against LV Feng? Chen Hang trembled at the side. He cursed in his heart that this brat was inhumane. LV Feng was a 52nd Heaven Realm powerhouse. He was already very strong. Moreover, he was injured. It was impossible for him to be LV Feng's opponent. Chen Hang. LV Feng squinted his eyes and looked at the crowd. He replied with an, oh, and said with a smile, I remember now. There is indeed a man in the Shang family of Tianji City who is good at trapping horses. His name is Chen Hang. It is said that he has some skills. Chen Hang's face turned pale. LV Feng, don't go too far. I'm already injured. Otherwise, injured? What kind of injury? LV Feng asked. Chen Hang said, I was hit by the demon god Nushi's divine sound. My meridians and sea of qi are all injured. Meridians are injured? LV Feng frowned and smiled. I'll give you a handicap. I'll give you an arm. How about that? What do you mean? That's what I mean. LV Feng suddenly stretched out his left hand. He clenched his fist and forcefully activated his divine force. Crack, crack, crack. His meridians were cracking. Blood splattered everywhere. Even if his left arm flew away in a short period of time, it would take at least 3 to 5 days to recover even if he used his divine force to heal it. He panted miserably and smiled. How about it? Do you dare to fight with me? Madman, he's a madman. This was the only thought in everyone's mind. In order to provoke Chen Hang into accepting the challenge, LV Feng actually destroyed his own arm. How crazy was this? Did he really want to win against this group of people in front of him? Lin Muyu remained silent. She was still like a servant beside Si Kongyao. She used the spirit pulse art to maintain her aura at the first layer of Grotto Heaven level. This way, even LV Feng couldn't see through her. LV Feng looked down on this group of people and broke his own arm. This was the result that Lin Muyu wanted. Originally, he was worried that he wasn't a match for this 52nd layer Grotto Heaven godly king. Now, everything was fine. He was courting death. He couldn't blame others. Uncle Chen Hang, be careful. Xianxia whispered. Chen Hang gritted his teeth and gripped the rock-collapsing spear tightly. He said, then, let me experience your martial arts. LV Feng's face was full of contempt. He could see the depth of Chen Hang's strength. This person was definitely not a match for him. Chapter 782. Pang! A powerful flame blasted out like a giant's arm. A streak of blood mixed with the morning glow. Chen Hang spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated rapidly in the air. The rock-collapsing spear made a buzzing sound as it flipped in the air and landed heavily on the wall. Chen Hang fell to the ground in a sorry state. He knelt on one knee and held the cold ground with his hand. He coughed violently and vomited a mouthful of blood. The flame force in his body seemed to be devouring his flesh and blood. LV Feng's flame force was too strong. Even if Chen Hang was at his peak, he would only have a 30% chance of winning against LV Feng. Not to mention that the injury caused by the Demon Emperor Nushi's zither attack in his body had yet to fully recover. Uncle Chen Hang. Shang Qian and Si Kongyao rushed to Chen Hang's left and right respectively and helped him up. Si Kongyao asked with concern, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Chen Hang pushed away the two girls' support and cupped his fists. "Sir LV Feng, I've lost. I don't know, what do you want from me?" "As long as you want it, Chen Hang will not complain." "I want that spear of yours." LV Feng held the scorching flame saber and stood proudly in the air like a deity looking down at the group. Chen Hang coughed violently again and looked at Lin Muyu. "Young hero, you don't have any excuses this time, right? The honor and disgrace of our group rests on you alone." Lin Muyu kept quiet as he wasn't confident of winning. LV Feng defeated Zhuang Xiaoyu in 3 moves and Chen Hang in 14 moves. How could a hierarch like him look down on such strength? However, at this moment, LV Feng squinted his eyes and looked at Lin Muyu. He pointed at him and said, "That brat, you're much better looking than the previous one. I've long disliked you. Come on. Since you have the guts to challenge my Pishio mercenaries' mountain gate, let me see how capable you are." Shi Tianming was shocked and secretly rejoiced. "Fortunately, I'm not good looking. Otherwise, I'd be dead." Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu with concern and said, "Young swordsman, LV Feng's strength is unfathomable. I think, if it's not necessary, there's no need to stand out. Let's go back safely and admit that we're cowards." "Why should I admit defeat?" Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Ice Origin sword from her back and said with a smile, "It's rare to meet such an expert. If I don't try, how can I be willing to go back?" "Are you crazy?" Lu Bai's eyes widened. At this moment, in his eyes, Lin Muyu and LV Feng had already been categorized as the same kind of people. Lunatics, a group of people who went crazy in pursuit of power. However, what would be the outcome of a duel between two madmen? Shang Qian walked forward and said faintly, "Young hero, it's all up to you now. Be careful." Lin Muyu nodded. Shang Qian had a faint fragrance of a young girl. She was indeed a rare beauty, but her thoughts were too deep. It was so deep that Lin Muyu was unwilling to know more about her. Si Kongyao held the thin sword in her hand and looked at LV Feng coldly. LV Feng's words just now were an insult to her. If she was strong enough, she would kill him without hesitation. Si Kongyao would definitely do it. This was her personality. She wouldn't offend others if they didn't offend her. Once her bottom line was crossed, there was nothing she wouldn't do. Lin Muyu looked at her and nodded slightly, as if telling her, "I'll help you get back at him." Si Kongyao didn't say much. She only said 2 words, "Be careful." Lin Muyu turned around and said to LV Feng, who was in the air, "Are we still the same? The winner can take something from the loser?" "That's right." The corner of LV Feng's mouth curled up. "But, with just you? Can you really win? How would I know if I don't try?" Lin Muyu chuckled. His aura didn't lose out to LV Feng in the slightest. He stepped into the sky, and with every step he took, his strength increased by 10%. When he took 10 steps forward, his body was already shrouded in dazzling golden god force. His strength had also reached the highest level, and the spirit beads of law formed by his supreme being Godhead were ready to appear. LV Feng couldn't help but frown. He realized that this kid in front of him wasn't someone Zhuang Xiaoyu and Qin Hang could compare to. At the very least, his ability to conceal his aura was better than the former's. I actually misjudged you. Interesting. LV Feng laughed heartily. The aura around him rose rapidly, and a mountain-like domain pressure descended on the surroundings. Lin Muyu held the sword in one hand and took a deep breath. The sovereign lattice in his E-high trembled slightly, and a majestic domain energy spread out. It actually condensed into a physical attack that rippled outwards. For a moment, the people on the ground were suffocated by the domain pressure of the two God Realm experts. Hua hua hua. A fierce wind blew as the domains of the two collided. They were evenly matched. A wave of God's wave was like a heavy blast. The collision of the waves was like a heavy bomb exploding in the air. Waves of airflow crazily surged in all directions. Soon, the people of the Pai Xiu mercenary group couldn't bear it anymore and were blown to the left and right. Retreat, retreat to the outside of the wall. An officer ordered loudly. Among Si Kongyao's group, Lu Bai was the first to be unable to bear it. His nose was already bleeding and he blankly wiped it. His hand was covered in blood, and his breathing became heavy as he said, "Are the two of them still human? What is this unbearable pressure?" "It's a domain." Si Kongyao looked at the two figures in the sky, and said indifferently, "How can a mortal withstand the domain pressure of a god? Lu Bai, go to the outer wall with the mercenaries. You will bleed to death if you stay here." Okay, Lu Bai nodded repeatedly, and glared at Shi Tianming. "Young Master Shi, do you think you are much stronger than me? Do you want to hide with me?" Shi Tianming nodded hurriedly. "Let's go." The two of them fled. Chen Hang squinted his eyes and condensed a rock armor to resist the domain pressure. He said, "This is too strange." "What's strange?" Shang Qian asked with a pale face. It was already very difficult for her to resist the domain pressure. Chen Hang panted heavily and said, "I have seen young heroes move. He is only at the 22nd Grotto Heaven stage, while LV Feng is at the 52nd Grotto Heaven stage. There is a huge difference of 30 Grotto Heaven stage, which is equivalent to a major realm. With such a difference, he is actually able to stand under LV Feng's domain pressure. How is this possible? Could it be that he has cultivated a secret art related to domain? Impossible. Even if he has a secret art, a domain is a domain, and the difference between the major realms is incalculable. For his divine spark grade." Shang Qian's intelligent eyes glowed with light, and she said, "During the battle with the demon the Arch, I have seen it in a glance. He is able to take out the Law Spirit Pearl. Could it be the Cast Immortal Spark or the Master God Spark?" "That's even more impossible." Chen Hang said, "All gods with the Cast Immortal Spark will be listed in the register, and the Western Heaven Realm will naturally send an envoy to recruit them. They will also promise that once they cultivate the Great Tao, they will be given the identity of a high-level angel. But he did not, and if it is the Master God Spark, it is even more impossible. Every Master God Spark will cause the entire Divine Realm to tremble, and he will become an opponent that the four Divine Realms will fight to recruit. How can he be a mere wanderer in the celestial pole continent? Then Shang Qian was a little puzzled. How can he resist LV Feng's domain? I don't know. Chen Hang shook his head tiredly. I can't see through him. I really can't see through him. Uncle Chen Hang, step back and rest for a while. In the sky, the collision of the domain's airflow became more and more intense. Purple light flashed, and there was a great momentum of thunder. Two tiny figures were dominating the heaven and earth. The sky was filled with dark clouds, and in the distance, tornadoes had already formed. A catastrophe was quietly descending because of this battle. Only Lin Muyu knew the bitterness of this. LV Feng's pressure came wave after wave, and it was extremely concentrated. It was as if he wanted to attack her divine spark, damage it, and retreat in the face of difficulties. Thus, Lin Muyu could only use all her strength to activate her divine power, and the sea of consciousness surged. This immature sovereign spark swayed endlessly in the waves, and it emitted a light that soared into the sky, nurturing more divine power for its master. Originally, Lin Muyu's paradise cultivation was far inferior to her opponents, but the sovereign spark's recovery speed was too fast, so in the time it took for LV Feng to activate 52 waves, Lin Muyu could repeat the domain 2 to 3 times, forming more than 50 waves of divine waves to resist LV Feng. Pooh! Lin Muyu felt a sweetness in her throat, and she was the first to succumb to the pressure. A trickle of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. LV Feng wasn't any better. His face was pale, and the fire saber in his hand was trembling. He shouted, "Brat, if you surrender now, I won't hold it against you." Lin Muyu didn't say a word, and she continued to activate her divine power. This was the time to kill LV Feng. In less than half a minute, LV Feng spat out a mouthful of blood, and the flames around him swirled rapidly. He forcefully broke free from the domain's restraint, and he swung his saber at Lin Muyu. Finally, it was time for a head-on battle. The Ice Origin sword trembled lightly, and rays of starlight formed into armor that surrounded Lin Muyu. This was the defensive effect of the Star Lotus armor. The two passed by each other, and as their weapons clashed, they both launched a series of attacks at each other. Bang, bang, bang. LV Feng's 3 consecutive kicks landed on Lin Muyu's calf, and Lin Muyu didn't hesitate to gather the Law of Ice on her fist, and she punched LV Feng's back with all her strength. Pang! The icy cold fist actually didn't break through the opponent's defense. LV Feng's body was surrounded by a dense golden protective wall. It was the God Wall. Lin Muyu was at a disadvantage. She stepped on the void, turned around, and launched a series of fierce sword attacks. The angles were tricky, and each sword was faster than the previous one. In an instant, LV Feng had no choice but to deal with it. Clang, clang, clang. The two's bodies were hidden in the dark clouds, and the people on the ground could only see rays of golden light shooting out from the dark clouds. Then, in the next 1 to 2 seconds, there was the impact of the attack, and the waves swept across the ground. "He's so strong." Xianxia looked up at the sky, and her beautiful eyes were blurred. Si Kongyao also raised her long, snow-white neck, and her eyes were rippling with desire. She muttered, "If he could be used by me, how good would that be?" Zhuang Xiaoyu's face was pale. "That's impossible. Give up. He's destined not to be used by you." "So what?" Si Kongyao suddenly smiled like a blooming flower. Chapter 783. The 17th Move. Streaks of lightning circulated around Lin Muyu's fist. This heavy punch landed on LV Feng's left arm in a gorgeous arc. It was his injured left arm. Bang! The divine wall finally couldn't withstand Lin Muyu's powerful attack. LV Feng's divine wall started to break. LV Feng vomited a mouthful of blood. He held his saber with one hand and roared, "Who are you? Is it important who I am?" Lin Muyu panted heavily. The clothes on his body were almost torn apart by his opponent's flame force, revealing his strong physique. Every line of his muscles looked incomparably sturdy, and the light of lightning constantly flickered around his body. During the battle, he realized that LV Feng's resistance to lightning was very weak, so he decided to hit LV Feng while he was down, constantly bombarding LV Feng's wounds with his Law of Lightning. In a battle of life and death, how could there be any benevolence? LV Feng howled and retreated dozens of meters. His body was once again surrounded by prairie fire. The light from his saber soared into the sky as if it was going to split the sky. He shouted, "I will not lose. LV Feng will not lose." Buzz. The saber light slashed down with flames. Lin Muyu faced the saber light. But the moment his face touched the saber light, his body suddenly disappeared. Shatter the void. LV Feng cursed in his heart. This kid's recovery speed was too fast. Lightning flashed behind him. LV Feng couldn't do anything anymore. 5 elements, 8 wastelands extermination. The spiritual power from all directions gathered together in the light of the Law of Lightning. As Lin Muyu's fist landed heavily on LV Feng's back, The sound of ribs breaking could be heard. Ah! LV Feng howled. His reaction was shockingly fast. His elbow suddenly smashed in the opposite direction and hit Lin Muyu's shoulder. The 52 heavenly grotto heaven waves violently attacked and instantly destroyed the dragon blood battle shield. It even tore open his flesh and blood splattered. But that wasn't all. Buzz! The handle of the saber was sent backward. Bang! Lin Muyu was struck in the qi in her lower abdomen. With a muffled groan, she turned into a ball of lightning and was sent flying hundreds of meters away. Her face was pale. LV Feng had already used his killing move, and every move was aimed at her vitals. Bastard! Lin Muyu clenched her teeth and pounced forward with her sword. Disregarding her injuries, she launched a counterattack. Her long sword struck the hilt of the saber 5 times in a row. LV Feng did not seem to have the strength to fight back. But just when Lin Muyu was slightly careless, LV Feng actually flipped the long saber and suddenly grabbed the sword hilt, roaring, "Let go!" With a loud bang, he kicked Lin Muyu's wrist, and the Ice Origin sword flew out of her hand. Crash! Amidst the dark clouds, the Ice Origin sword spun and descended, leaving a trail of lightning in its wake. Is that the Ice Origin sword? Si Kongyao was stunned. She was very worried. Is he all right? Zhuang Xiaoyu narrowed his eyes. Don't worry, Yao. He won't die. Boom boom. The sound of fists colliding echoed in the dark clouds. The two of them had already begun to fight with their lives on the line. The more LV Feng fought, the more valiant he became. There was a proud expression on his face, and his aura suppressed Lin Muyu's. He waved his long saber and slashed randomly. Rays of saber light bombarded Lin Muyu. Die for me! The long saber suddenly struck out like lightning. This saber was as fast as lightning, and it was a fatal saber strike. Lin Muyu stepped into the air. Her entire body was covered in blood, but she maintained a clear mind and calmness. Her body swayed, and she dodged this fatal strike. Her hands grabbed the edge of the saber, and she used her bare hands to block the saber. Under LV Feng's shocked gaze, Lin Muyu grabbed the edge of the saber and suddenly lifted her body. Her knees smashed into LV Feng's abdomen, forcing him to abandon his saber. Bastard! Just as LV Feng abandoned his weapon and prepared to fight with his bare hands, Lin Muyu's body spun, and a cold light pressed against LV Feng's neck. It was the demonic noise saber. This small demonic noise saber was like an exquisite dagger in Lin Muyu's hands. The sharp edge had already cut open LV Feng's skin, and a stream of blood dripped down. As long as Lin Muyu used more strength, LV Feng's head would be separated from his body. LV Feng was so scared that he couldn't move. He silently stayed in the air, closed his eyes, and said, "If you want to kill me, then kill me." "I don't want to kill you." Lin Muyu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and said with a sad smile, "I only want to fight you to the death. Have you already forgotten our bet?" "You won't kill me?" LV Feng was delighted. "Yes, but the condition is that you admit defeat." "All right, I admit defeat." LV Feng was very straightforward. "Very well, thank you for letting me win." Lin Muyu moved the magic noise saber away. She wasn't worried about LV Feng's counterattack because she had a weapon in her hand and LV Feng didn't. Moreover, LV Feng was seriously injured. It would be a piece of cake for her to kill him. The wind howled and the dark clouds dissipated. 2 figures descended from the sky. It was Lin Muyu and LV Feng who looked extremely miserable. Seeing the magic noise saber in Lin Muyu's hand, they immediately knew the result. Si Kongyao was overjoyed. She walked forward and said, "Young hero, you won?" Lin Muyu nodded heavily. The group of mercenary leaders was stunned. There were 2 ultimate gods among them who knew LV Feng's strength. He was a peerless expert who was about to peek into the Emperor God realm. How could such a person lose? LV Feng said with a dark face, "Yes, I lost. I lost the bet. Tell me, what do you want from me?" "Treasures, weapons, or even my arms or legs. If you want them, I will give them to you." "What do I want these for?" Lin Muyu smiled and said in front of LV Feng's subordinates, I want the position of the Pishio mercenary group's leader. What did you say? LV Feng was shocked. You want the Pishio mercenary group? Why can't I? It's also an item that belongs to you, isn't it? This. LV Feng's face became even uglier. He said, Are you sure you want to be the leader of the Pishio mercenary group? Are you sure you can control my group of brothers? No, I don't want to be the leader. Lin Muyu shouted from afar, Bai, come here. Lu Bai hurriedly walked over and asked, What's wrong? What's the matter? Lin Muyu patted Lu Bai's shoulder and said with a smile, If I don't want to be the leader, let him be. What? The group of mercenaries was dumbfounded. LV Feng couldn't help but sneer and said, What do the Pishio mercenary group rely on to stand tall on the Devil's Palm Peaks? It's our fists and brotherhood. Just based on this low cultivation trash, how can he be the leader of our Pishio mercenary group? If you agree to bet, you must accept your loss. Do you want to renege on your debt? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, If you break your promise in front of everyone, I want to see how you will convince the others in the future and how you will be the leader of the Pishio mercenary group. Several mercenary leaders' faces turned red and said angrily, No, absolutely not. We will only obey LV Feng. This person called Lu Bai can go eat us. Lu Bai didn't dare to say anything. After all, these mercenary leaders were all burly and there was no lack of sacred warrior-level experts among them. It wouldn't be good if he spoke carelessly and was beaten to death. Lin Muyu proudly said, Just say, if you agree to bet, you must accept your loss? LV Feng. Her gaze was like a sharp sword, making LV Feng feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Good. LV Feng said good 3 times. He reached into his space bag and took out a blood-red thumb ring and said, This vermilion bird thumb ring is the token of our Pishio mercenary group's leader. I'll give it to you. With a pa sound, Lin Muyu caught the thumb ring and handed it to Lu Bai and said, Put it on. Lu Bai was stunned, but Lin Muyu's words were not a discussion, but an order. He could only put it on. Si Kong Yao, Chen Hang, Shang Qian and the others were also dumbfounded. No one knew what Lin Muyu wanted to do. Why did he let Lu Bai be the leader of the Pishio mercenary group? All right, why don't you come and greet the new leader? Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. His imposing manner was awe-inspiring. There was actually a faint aura of a king. The group of mercenary leaders looked at each other. In the end, they actually knelt together and said in an uneven voice, We greet the leader. What about you? Lin Muyu stared at LV Feng. You. LV Feng gritted his teeth. In the end, his left arm trembled as he knelt on one knee and said, Subordinate LV Feng greets leader Lu Bai. Lin Muyu smiled with satisfaction. We are the leader's distinguished guests. Treat us well. It's going to be noon soon. Aren't you going to arrange lunch and accommodation? Yes. LV Feng cupped his fists, his face was ashen. The group slowly entered the courtyard of the Pishio mercenary group. Si Kong Yao and Shang Qian were confused. What is he going to do? Shang Qian asked in confusion. I don't know. Si Kong Yao smiled slightly. Her easygoing personality made it easier for her to get happy. She said with a smile, Maybe this guy just wants to cheat us for a meal. Anyway, it's good for us to eat and drink. It's rare for us to have a good meal after coming out for so many days. Shang Qian was a little speechless. Zhuang Xiaoyu held the purple gold fan in his hand and looked around coldly. As the son of the prime minister, how could he be willing to associate with mercenaries? But at this time he really had no choice. He had to stay here even if he didn't want to. Who knew what Lin Muyu was going to do? After a sumptuous lunch, Lin Muyu called the 7 captaincy leaders of the Pishio mercenary group into the secret room to lecture them one by one. Each of them was lectured for nearly 30 minutes. Si Kong Yao, Lu Bai, and others were very annoyed. When Lin Muyu finished lecturing them, it was already night. Then came the dinner party. After eating and drinking, they went back to their rooms to rest. Lu Bai slept in the leader's room where LV Feng used to live. After dismissing the maids, he couldn't fall asleep. Lini. When he was half asleep, someone suddenly woke up Lu Bai. It was Lin Muyu's voice. What's wrong, young hero? Go to sleep under the bed. Give the bed to me. But. Because you can't beat me. Can you? Yes. Chapter 784. In the secret room, the dim light flickered gently. LV Feng sat there with an ashen face. Golden divine power flowed through his injured arm and back, healing himself. Next to him were 3 mercenary captains. They all had respectful expressions on their faces, but they didn't say a word. Damn it. LV Feng gritted his teeth. That kid really doesn't know what's good for him. He let a weak scholar be the leader of the Pishio mercenary band. I want to see how he dies. LV Feng looked at the 3 of them angrily. Why aren't you saying anything? What did that kid say when he called the 3 of you into the secret room this afternoon? He didn't say anything. He just made tea for us and asked us to taste it with him. He also said that our tea can't compare to and Longjing tea. It's astringent and not sweet. Nothing. LV Feng's eyes were cold. How is that possible? What about Jiang Lai and Luo Rang? Did they say anything? They didn't say anything. One of the captaincies said respectfully. Jiang Lai has been living in a city outside of the demonic peaks for a long time. I'm afraid he already has ulterior motives. Luo Rang has also been secretly dissatisfied with your arrangements. I'm afraid the 3 of them already have ulterior motives. Now that this Lu Bai has become the leader, they will definitely submit to him in order to rise in power. They also want to rise in power? LV Feng laughed. These idiots probably don't know that tonight is the day Lu Bai dies. Leader, you want to kill that Lu Bai? LV Feng gritted his teeth. First kill Lu Bai, then kill the other kid. How can the dignified Pishio mercenary band die in the hands of 2 nameless people? In a while, the few of you go to that kid's room first. He was seriously injured during the day. Use the fragrance of lost souls to knock him out and secretly kill him. I will go kill Lu Bai. Don't be in a hurry. We will act at dawn. Yes, leader. The captaincy's face was full of flattery. Right, what about Jiang Lai, Luo Rang, and Hu Qiu? Humph. After dealing with this group of people, we'll deal with the 3 of them. Commander is wise. Go and prepare the soulless incense. Before dawn, the cold moonlight shone on the mountain forest. The cold wind constantly blew through the bamboo forest in the courtyard, making rustling sounds. All the residents in the courtyard fell asleep amidst this sound. A silhouette drifted through the corridor like a ghost. It was completely silent, and even its aura seemed to have merged with the heavens and earth, making it impossible for anyone to detect it. However, there were naturally people who did not sleep that night. He gently attached himself to the door, like a big bat waiting to suck blood. He listened carefully for a long time. The person in the room was breathing heavily and had already fallen into a deep sleep. Phew! The cold wind blew open the door, and his figure floated into the room, moving with the wind. The dagger in his hand reflected the moonlight, and stabbed straight at the person sleeping on the bed. Buzz! Suddenly, a golden light blossomed, as dazzling as the first rays of dawn. Ah! LV Feng screamed, and he could barely open his eyes. However, his hand didn't stop moving and continued to stab downwards. Nail! A heavy strike blocked the dagger, and it was also a dagger. Shwa shwa shwa! Many golden gourd vines sprang up from the ground, and in the blink of an eye, LV Feng's body was trapped in place. Even if he could break free with his strength, he would need half a second, but half a second was enough for the opponent to kill him. Using the golden light from the gourd vines, LV Feng could see clearly that this person in front of him was not Lu Bai, but Lin Muyu. He had actually disguised his aura to be exactly the same as Lu Bai. Don't move! Lin Muyu suddenly punched LV Feng's abdomen, and with a crescent light, it was the long river falling moon. The moonlight attack severed his meridians, and for a moment, LV Feng couldn't summon any god power in his chi-si. I originally didn't want to kill you, but since you wanted to kill a commoner, don't blame me. Lin Muyu couldn't help but wave her arm, and the demonic noise blade, which was imbued with supreme god power, slit LV Feng's throat. Blood splattered, and it was golden blood, as if it was gilding the tiles on the ground. LV Feng clutched his throat and let out a beast-like whimper, but this couldn't save his life. He slowly knelt on the ground, and his pupils constricted. Shua, a sparkling and translucent god lattice broke out of his body. It was LV Feng's mortal lattice. Lin Muyu stretched out her hand and kept this mortal lattice into her cosmos sac. Although the mortal lattice wasn't much, it was still a god lattice. Moreover, LV Feng's attainments in the law of fire were very profound, and the power of fire within this god lattice was very precious. After returning to the Shattered Cauldron realm, she could use the treasure cauldron to refine it and give it to Tang Xiaoxi to raise her cultivation. Refining god lattice to absorb god power was much more effective than refining demon spirit stones. Bang! When LV Feng laid down, Lu Bai, who was under the bed, was startled awake. What's going on? Why is there a dead person? It's LV Feng, how did he die here? He originally wanted to kill you, but in the end, he lost his life. Lin Muyu picked up LV Feng's dagger and carefully looked at it. Lu Bai was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. Oh my god, young hero, you made me sleep under the bed to save me. What else? Lin Muyu glanced at him and said, Commoner, you were too weak in the past, and that's why you were bullied everywhere. Today, I will push you to the position of Pishio Mercenary Group's leader. Do you think you are up for it? I will do my best to be up for it. Lu Bai's words didn't have much confidence. No, for the time being, you don't have the qualifications to say that you are up for it. Lin Muyu smiled very brightly. She wasn't the slightest bit worried about hurting Lu Bai's self-esteem. She said, but there's one thing you have to remember. Only when you truly become a strong person will you be respected. I will find a good helper for you to reorganize the Pishio Mercenary Group. Reorganize? The Pishio Mercenary Group isn't in turmoil. Why do we need to reorganize? There will be turmoil soon. Lin Muyu's eyes were like torches. I met with the 7 vice leaders during the day. They seem to be united, but they are divided at heart. They all have their own plans. Now that LV Feng, the leader, is dead, there will definitely be a civil war. I'm afraid that tomorrow, the Devil's Palm Peaks will be dyed red with blood. Then I'm afraid that many people will die, right? Lu Bai's voice was trembling. If there are no dead people, how can the cards be shuffled? Lin Muyu sighed. She didn't know when she had become so calculative and unscrupulous. But since she had stepped on this path, she could only continue walking. This was her mission. Lu Bai was silent for a long time. His eyes became much clearer. He suddenly said indifferently, Young hero, who are you? Do you really want to know? Lin Muyu asked. Look at this. Lin Muyu took out a golden seal from her Qiankuan bag. Although Lu Bai couldn't see it, he could feel these words with his palm. He couldn't help but sweat profusely as he said, Emperor Qin's seal. Emperor Qin's seal. Could you be Emperor Qin Lin Muyu from the other side of the West Sea? Yes, I am Lin Muyu. He didn't deny it. You? Lu Bai's hand that was holding the golden seal trembled. He said, Your Highness Emperor Qin, why did you come to the celestial pole continent? Lin Muyu sat by the bed and smiled as usual. The war is about to start. It's the Tianji Empire and the Blackstone Empire that want to invade my homeland. So I came here. Bai, I want to ask you to do something for me. What is it? Be the leader of the Pishio Mercenary Group. Collect the demonic heart stones in the demonic Palm Peaks and transport them to the Shattered Cauldron Realm continent using the channels that you have. Lin Muyu raised LV Feng's dagger and said, Look, this dagger has been tempered with the essence of the demonic heart stone. As long as it pierces into the body of a god state expert, he won't be able to use his divine power and will be demoted to a sanctuary expert. A small demonic heart stone can destroy a god. Are you willing to help me? Are you willing to help the Shattered Cauldron realm? Are you asking me to betray my country? Lu Bai was dejected. Your country, your king, are they worthy of your loyalty? Lin Muyu asked. Lu Bai was stunned. After a while, he held the golden seal and took a few steps back. He knelt on one knee in front of Lin Muyu and said, I, Lu Bai, have lived a muddle-headed life. No one looked up to me and no one treated me as a friend except for you. Since Emperor Qin thinks highly of me, I, Lu Bai, will definitely repay him with my life. As long as I'm alive, I won't let Emperor Qin down. Get up. We are friends, not subordinates. Lin Muyu smiled. Someone is coming. Who? Before he could finish his sentence, the door was kicked open with a bang and shattered into pieces. Si Kongyao's pretty face was covered with frost. She looked at Lin Muyu and Lu Bai indifferently and said, I need an explanation. Fine. Lin Muyu stood in front of Lu Bai and said, if you want an explanation, come with me, eldest Mississippi. As she spoke, Lin Muyu leaped into the air and flew into the distance. Bang! The dust on the ground surged and the cyclone flowed back. Si Kongyao also followed. Lu Bai held the Emperor Qin's golden seal and stood there in a daze. He didn't know what to do. Swoosh, swoosh, 2 rays of cold light flashed across the sky and suddenly collided. Si Kongyao's palm fell and the power of the ice mystic art landed heavily on the wall of the golden gourd on Lin Muyu's back. Bang! The 2 fell into the valley between the mountains. Bang bang! The 2's bodies carried a vast amount of divine power, leaving a deep pit in the ground and breaking countless trees. Si Kongyao's palm landed on Lin Muyu's body 3 times in a row. Her questioning voice echoed in the valley, Why did you lie to me? I trusted you so much. Why? Lin Muyu didn't retaliate at all. The 2 crashed through a huge rock with a bang, and rolled on the grass with their faces covered in dirt. The moonlight shone down. Si Kongyao cried, You lied to me, you used me and almost made me betray my own country. You. Chapter 785. Bang! A fistful of ice energy landed on Lin Muyu's shoulder. The wall of the calabash made a buzzing sound. Lin Muyu fell back dozens of meters again and hit a huge tree heavily. Leaves fell like rain and covered his head and shoulders in the blink of an eye. He looked even more embarrassed. Why didn't you fight back, King Qin? Si Kongyao walked over on the ice energy. Her eyes were full of coldness. We are destined to be opponents. Why didn't you fight back? With your strength, you should be able to kill me, Si Kongyao. Lin Muyu brushed off the leaves on her shoulder and spat out a mouthful of blood. She smiled miserably and said, I'm injured. I don't have the strength to kill you. Besides, I won't kill you at all. But the frost divine power in Si Kongyao's palm surged. She was ready to launch a fatal attack at any time. Lin Muyu struggled to sit up. She leaned against the rotten bark of the ancient tree and looked up at the stars and moon in the sky. Suddenly, she couldn't help but laugh. Her laughter was full of self-mockery. She said in a low voice, Eldest Miss, do you know what the Shattered Cauldron realm is like? I don't know. I don't need to know. Si Kongyao's voice was cold. In the Shattered Cauldron realm, men plow and women weave. Loyalty, filial piety, benevolence, and righteousness are emphasized. We have suffered a lot over the years. The Iha Kingdom's mutiny and the demon race's invasion. In order to protect our homeland, my friends and relatives died one by one. Grandpa Lei Hong, Big Brother Chu Huayin, Big Brother Qin Lei, Miss Xianxia, my adoptive father Qin Jin. So many people lost their lives for the empire and their homeland. Finally, the Qin Empire was about to be unified. The people were about to live and work in peace and contentment, but the plain boundary disappeared. Lin Muyu's eyes were full of confusion. She said, My strength is almost at the top in the Shattered Cauldron realm. We have 1 divine king and 5 ultimate gods. But there are 21 sacred martial gods, nearly 100 sacred martial kings, and nearly 1,000 sacred martial warriors in the celestial pole continent. What about our Qin Empire? I can't sleep every night. I'm scared. I'm terrified. Lin Muyu looked at Si Kongyao in a daze and said in a trembling voice, I'm afraid that my friends, the people I love, will scatter with the wind like these leaves. I'm afraid that the land I cherish will wail and cry under the dragon flames of your dragon riders. I'm afraid that I'll let down those who have passed away, that I'll betray the trust they've given their lives. I'm afraid that the world will be torn apart, that everyone will point at me, Lin Muyu, and call me a coward. I had to do it, I had to do it. Xianxia stood there in a daze. The ice elemental divine power in her hand was dense, but it did not continue to strengthen. Now do you know why I'm here? Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, the Qin Empire will not sit still and wait for death. The Emperor of the Tianji Empire has already mobilized his troops to fight with us. Since he wants to fight, the Qin Empire will definitely go all out. Xianxia looked at him quietly, biting her red lips. Her shoulders trembled slightly. She said, I just want to ask you one thing. I'm the granddaughter of Sikong Ming of the Tianji sect. As long as you kill me, you can put the blame on the Celestial Empire or the Blackstone Empire. If the three empires in the Celestial Pole continent are in chaos, it will only be good for the Shattered Cauldron realm. Why don't you do that? You have so many opportunities, why don't you grasp them? It turned out that Xianxia was not stupid. On the surface, she looked bright and innocent, but she was actually very clear about the situation. She could see it much more clearly than anyone else. Lin Muyu let out a bitter laugh. I've thought about it before, but I know that you've never had any intention to kill me. Even now, I can only feel your anger, but not your killing intent. You don't want to hurt me, so why would I hurt you? Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. You are really the Qin Empress Lin Muyu of the Qin Empire? Yes. Lin Muyu gently opened her palm and shouted in a low voice without holding anything back. Suddenly, the spirit beads of law started spinning in her palm. There were a total of 12 beads, and they were vigorous and magnificent. Xianxia was stunned. These are the spirit beads of law, yes, 12 in total. Lin Muyu pointed at her forehead with her left hand and said, there is a sovereign lattice here. Do you need any other proof? There's no need. The cold air in Xianxia's palm dissipated. She seemed to have lost all her strength and knelt on the ground. She looked at Lin Muyu and said, I'm sorry. I didn't really want to hurt you. It's okay. I don't blame you. You probably can't accept the fact that I'm a foreigner. No, Xianxia shook her head, bit her red lips and said, I grew up in the Tianji sect. The empire's emperor Bai Mingyuan holds the Tianji sect in high esteem. The majority of the empire's cultivation resources are given to the Tianji sect. Bai Mingyuan even treats me, the eldest miss of the Tianji sect, like his own daughter. I'm afraid he treats me better than all of his daughters. But I can't kill the person who poses the greatest threat to him. Things may not be as you think. Lin Muyu looked up at the starry sky and said, Bai Mingyuan needs the Tianji sect to train more sacred warriors for him so that they can fight on the front lines of the Tianji Empire in the future. Therefore, he will definitely treat you well. Eldest miss, if he really treats you like his own daughter, has he ever combed your hair even once? No. Xianxia murmured. I know a father. He's an emperor, but he often combs his daughter's hair. He gave up everything for his daughter, including his life. That's what a father should be like. Lin Muyu's mind was filled with the images of Qin Jin and Qin Yin. She could not help but feel a lump in her throat and almost burst into tears. She had almost given up everything for this father and daughter. What a great obsession. Actually, I know that this is just an exchange of benefits. It's just that Xianxia frowned slightly and said, it's just that I really can't imagine it. If I become friends with you, it would be a betrayal to the Tianji Empire. I really can't do it. Cough, cough. Lin Muyu coughed violently a few times. The gauze on her shoulder was dark red. The injury she had suffered during the day had burst open because of Xianxia's attack. Are you okay? Xianxia crawled a few steps on her knees and checked on Lin Muyu's injury. Her eyes turned red. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. It's not your fault. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. I asked for this. If I hadn't come to the Celestial Pole continent, I probably wouldn't have gotten myself into such a sorry state. I could have lived a few more years in the Shattered Cauldron realm. If you hadn't come, you wouldn't have been able to know me. Xianxia sniffled and looked at him with red eyes. Oh, what does that mean? Yeah, I got it. Lin Muyu smiled. She looked down at the layer of fallen leaves on the ground and said, "In the Shattered Cauldron realm, I have an adopted elder sister called Chu Yao. And you are called Si Kong Yao. Actually, it can be said that we are quite fated." Si Kong Yao couldn't help but laugh. She put her hands on the ground and looked up with a smile. "If Chu Yao is your elder sister, then what about me? Perhaps you are more like a younger sister?" Lin Muyu looked down at her. "Younger sister, I don't have an elder brother. I never had one." Si Kongyao muttered to herself. "Do you really think of me as a younger sister?" "Yes, even though this younger sister beat me up so badly a few seconds ago." "I'm sorry," Si Kongyao pouted. "I will make it up to you." "Really?" "Yes." Si Kongyao nodded and said, "As long as you are my elder brother, I can do anything for you." "Of course, this matter can't be too excessive, okay?" Lin Muyu smiled. Her eyes also became charming. She sat up straight and said, "I just happen to have something that I want to ask Yao for help with." "What is it?" "Stay in the Blackstone Empire and help Liu Bai manage the Pishio mercenary band. Rely on your connections in the Tianji sect to rope in talents to join the Pishio mercenary band. Quickly annex the surrounding mercenaries and unify the entire Blackstone Empire's mercenary world. After that, attack the cities and territories so that the Blackstone Empire can't split itself and attack the Shattered Cauldron realm." At this point, Lin Muyu's eyes lit up. "With your roping skills and status, it definitely won't be a problem." Si Kongyao's mouth opened wide. "How can I do that? If I stay in the Blackstone Empire, what about the Tianji sect? Moreover, if the Pishio mercenary band attacks the cities and territories, it will be equivalent to a rebellion. Do you want me, your younger sister, to rebel? Don't forget that I'm the future leader of the Tianji sect." "I know." Lin Muyu nodded and changed the way she addressed her. She said, "Yao, you can hide behind the scenes and continuously rope in talents for the Pishio mercenary band. Leave the real fighting to Liu Bai. He will be the bad guy and you will be in charge of the military power. In this way, no one will know that Si Kongyao is the real leader of this mercenary band." "All right," Si Kongyao bit her red lips. Her eyes flickered with difficulty. She said, "But you have to promise me one thing." "Yes, tell me." "No matter what, I will definitely not use force against the Tianji sect and the Tianji Empire. This is my final bottom line." "I promise you." "Also, say it. If you can reverse the situation, please let the commoners of the Tianji Empire go. They are innocent." "Yes, I have never used force against commoners in my life. Don't worry." Lin Muyu was relieved. She leaned against the tree and couldn't help but smile. That's great. With your help, Yao, the matter of the Blackstone Empire is basically settled. When I return to the Shattered Cauldron realm, I will be able to command the upcoming war without any distractions." "Brother, are you leaving?" Si Kongyao looked disappointed. "Yes, I will be leaving the Celestial Pole mainland soon. The Shattered Cauldron realm is my real home. Doesn't that mean I won't be able to see you for a long time? We will see each other again." Lin Muyu patted Si Kongyao's shoulder and said, "Don't say these useless things. Listen carefully. I will now impart the cultivation methods of the stellar art and the spirit refinement art to you. The stellar art is forceful and overbearing. It is my unique art. The spirit refinement art has great benefits for cultivating Godhead. If you use the spirit refinement art to cultivate demon spirit stones, you will get twice the result with half the effort." Si Kongyao sat there blankly. At this moment, she felt that Lin Muyu really treated her as a younger sister. If they weren't close relatives, why would she impart all her martial arts to her? The stellar art and the spirit refinement art were the two most profound martial arts of Lin Muyu. As for the 7 luminaries, it was too overbearing. A woman's physique couldn't bear it at all. Only men could use it. Chapter 786. Dang. The ringing of the bell reverberated between the thousands of pavilions in the Zetian Palace Hall. Stone walls carved with dragon carvings lined both sides of the square. In the center, there was a path decorated with gems and a red carpet. There was a royal guard every 3 steps and a royal guard every 20 steps. In the center, there was a row of civil and military officials holding jade tablets in their hands, slowly walking on the path in front of the Zetian Palace Hall. After the officials entered the palace, a group of royal guards slowly closed the golden door. Clang. The moment the door closed, everyone was stunned. They looked up and saw a beautiful young lady sitting on the throne. She had a graceful figure and was none other than the Fu Guijunju, Tang Xiaoxi. Qin Yan and Feng Jixing were wearing the king's cloak, standing on the left and right. Although they were the 3 kings, they seemed to have tacitly acknowledged Tang Xiaoxi's real power. Feng Jixing stepped forward on the gold-plated steps and said loudly, "Lords, I think everyone has heard the news from the east. The celestial pole continent is gathering warships. At this moment, nearly 10,000 warships are docked on the other side of the ocean, and their vanguard is aimed at our Qin Empire. We are under the orders of Her Highness the Empress, and we must fight for the empire to the end." The group of military officials clenched their fists and growled, "Fight to the end." However, Zhen Yifan smiled and said, "This time, Prince Exin ordered all officials above the 4th rank to come to Zetian Palace. I think it's not as simple as this." Lord Fan is a prophet. Indeed, it's not like that. It's better for Princess Shi to announce this matter. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi stood up lightly. Her clear and beautiful face was tender and alluring, and there was not a hint of impurity in her starry eyes. It was as if she could see through everything in the world. Her red lips parted slightly as she said, "Although Lanyan City is the imperial capital, it's 3,000 miles away from the eastern coastline. It's very troublesome to transport resources and convey military orders. Prince Exan and Prince Zhong, I've decided to establish another capital in the eastern province." Set up a capital? Zhen Yifan was stunned. Immediately, an old official walked out of the ranks and knelt on both knees. "Your Highnesses and Princess Shi, please reconsider. Lanyan City has been the imperial capital since ancient times. Wherever the Emperor's star goes, once the capital is moved, it will affect the foundation of the country. Lord Murong worries too much." Tang Xiaoxi smiled. "Not to move the capital but to decide on another capital. Lanyan City will be the imperial capital, and the new capital will be the eastern capital. Once the eastern capital has been decided, the 6 ministries of the empire and all the department deployments will be moved to the eastern capital. There is no need to discuss this matter further. What I want to ask is which city is more suitable to be the eastern capital." Xiang Yu's hand was on the hilt of his sword, and his brows were tightly furrowed as he pondered. "Duke, you has something to say?" Qin Yan asked. Xiang Yu nodded. "I suggest that Linghan City be the eastern capital. Linghan City is rich in resources and is close to the East Sea. Whether it is population, farmland, or commercial prosperity, it is second to none among the 3 eastern provinces." The generals knelt down at the same time. "We second the motion." They were all Xiang Yu's men, and they were all former subordinates of the 7 Seas Tang sect army. "Linghan City?" Feng Jixing squinted his eyes and smiled. "I'm afraid that's not appropriate." "What's not appropriate?" "Although Linghan City is prosperous, it is separated from the north by the Qinling Mountains, a natural stronghold. Once Linghan City is attacked, it will be very difficult for Lanyan City and 5 Valleys City to provide aid. It will take a lot of time to transport large amounts of resources and troops through the Qinling Mountains. Therefore, I think we should choose a city in the north of the Qinling Mountains as the eastern capital." Feng Jixing's words were reasonable, and Xiang Yu could not say anything more. He cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness Prince Exin is right." The officials looked at each other, and no one said anything else. After nearly half a minute, the old official Zheng Yifan finally said, "I think we should choose Dongshuang City. This city used to be the garrison of the valiant Dragon Legion. Later on, it was remodeled by His Highness Prince Qin. The area of the city has been expanded by 3 times. The mineral resources of the Iron Helmet Mountain have also been extracted and smelted in large quantities. It can provide weapons and armor for the imperial army." Tang Xiaoxi nodded happily. I agree with Duke Fan. Qin Yan also smiled and nodded. I also think that Dongshuang City is the most suitable. Feng Jixing raised his head and said, Dongshuang City will be the eastern capital. We will choose a day to move the 3 armies and 6 departments to Dongshuang City. Are there any objections? Everyone knelt on the ground. On the 2nd of March 7742, the Qin Empire set the eastern capital at Dongshuang City. The 3 armies and 6 departments began to move on the same day. The Imperial Guards, and Imperial Guards were all mobilized, leaving only 20,000 Imperial Guards to guard Yen Yulan City. At the same time, military orders were sent to Qihai Province, Yunzhong Province, Earth Star Province, Swift White Province, and so on. The garrisons of all the major provinces were mobilized and headed to Lingdong Province to prepare for war. In the Imperial Garden of Zetian Palace, when the green trees were sprouting, snowflakes were falling from the sky. It's March. Tang Xiaoxi looked up at the snow in the sky, exhaled a breath of hot air, and said, When will Mumu come back? He will come back when he wants to. We don't have to worry. Feng Jixing walked up the corridor with his hand on the hilt of his saber. He smiled and said, Princess Shi, you don't have to worry too much. You cares more about the future of the empire than any of us. He will definitely come back before the war officially starts. Tang Xiaoxi turned around and leaped, sitting leisurely on the mahogany railing of the attic. The falling snow around her made her look like a fiery flower in a sea of snow. General Feng, is there any news from afar? Have the Tianji Empire and the Blackstone Empire come? She was still used to calling Feng Jixing General Feng. It was as if she was still living in the past. At that time, Qin Jin and Qin Yin were still around. Lin Muyu was the commander of the Longdan army camp. Feng Jixing was the commander of the Imperial Guards. They all had their own duties and drank and played the zither when they had nothing to do. Everything was as beautiful as a dream. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes reddened. She couldn't help but raise her face, afraid that her tears would fall. Not yet. Feng Jixing said, Our war eagles and messenger birds are constantly flying over the sea. The news they brought back is almost the same. Most of the troops of the Tianji Empire and the Blackstone Empire are gathered by the coast. They will only set off when their warships and resources are ready. However, it seems that they will need at least half a year to finish their preparations. Is there any news from the north? Tang Xiaoxi asked. About 200,000 demons have entered the snowy wastelands. Wei Chou is leading the Longdan army camp to guard the 8 wastelands. The demons have really been completely expelled from the mainland. Then, Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips and suddenly asked, What about the territories north of the 8 wastelands? Do we have any news from there? Feng Jixing shook his head and said, North of the 8 wastelands is the frozen polar region. It snows all year round and is extremely cold. According to the temperature rules set by the Fire Sparrow Division, it is minus 40 degrees Celsius. Breath will turn into ice. Moreover, there is no food in the polar region. The snow that is several meters high makes it impossible for people to travel. Therefore, we haven't sent any scouts into the polar region. Tang Xiaoxi's bright eyes looked at Feng Jixing and said, I have a bad feeling about this. I don't know. She nodded and said, It's just a hunch. How many troops does the Tianji Empire have? According to the news from you, they have a total of 800,000 troops. Then, how many people have gathered along the coast? Nearly 300,000. Feng Jixing frowned and said, In addition to the troops stationed in the 4 provinces of the Tianji Empire, they have about 400,000 troops. From what we can see, they have 700,000 troops. What else is Princess Shi doubting? Tang Xiaoxi said, But General Feng, don't forget that Mu also said that they are recruiting troops on a large scale. They started a few months ago. With the prosperity of the Tianji Empire, it shouldn't be a problem to recruit hundreds of thousands of troops in a short period of time, right? Moreover, we have only spied on the situation of their troops. As far as I know, our spies have seen the main forces of the Yanji army and Lanji army of the 4 major armies of the Tianji Empire. However, the main forces of the other 2, the Longji army and the Liuji army, are missing. The most important thing now is to find out the location of these two major armies. Feng Jixing sweated profusely and said, Princess Shi, you mean they may have other preparations? Where will they attack from? I don't know. Tang Xiaoxi frowned and said, This is also what I am confused about. Could it be the icebound pole in the north? No way, ordinary people can't survive in the icebound pole at all. Yes. Feng Jixing clenched his fist and said, Don't think so much. Princess Shi, please arrange the marching plan for the Imperial Army's migration this afternoon. I will go to the dock at Daojiang in the afternoon to see how the preparations for the ship are going. Yes, go ahead. The Imperial Garden was silent. The falling snow made it seem even more desolate. Tang Xiaoxi opened her hands and caught the snowflakes. However, they melted in the blink of an eye. She suddenly wanted to cry. I can't hold it. I can't hold it. The land of exile, Flying Cloud Valley. It was called a valley, but it was actually a plain in the middle of the valley. It was several dozen miles wide and was very vast. At this time, the sky above Flying Cloud Valley was covered with dark clouds as if a storm was coming. However, no one avoided this upcoming storm because if they did, they would miss a chance to see the king. Ugly humans with scabies on their heads stood on the hillside, waving their arms one after another. Their bodies exuded the stench of not bathing for a few years. They roared as if they were crazy, Dark Moon King! Dark Moon King! The valley was filled with people. Perhaps it wasn't a crowd because there were not only humans, there were also beastmen and mutants that had been mutated by the genetic radiation. Hua hua hua! Orderly footsteps sounded out as the crowd moved aside. This was an army, a strong army equipped with crossbows, source energy guns, and flame-throwers. There were close to 5,000 people and the sound of engines rumbled as chariots slowly moved forward under the protection of the army. At the very center was a giant chariot that was close to 10 meters tall. Its 3-meter radius wheels seemed like they could crush everything as they slowly crushed the rocks and rotten bones in the valley. Dark Moon King! Dark Moon King! Everyone became even crazier. On top of the chariot, a beautiful figure stood there. A short skirt made of a special material wrapped around her alluring figure. She wore a short and tattered cloak that fluttered in the wind and her long hair draped over her shoulders. Her beautiful face looked extremely elegant under the light of the setting sun. Chapter 787. Behind the chariot was a 100-meter-long trailer, and inside it lay the corpse of a giant beast. The giant beast's body was crisscrossed with crisscrossing sword marks. The most fatal sword strike had severed its throat, and there were traces of blackened blood beneath the unknown rock-like skin. This giant beast was none other than one of the lords of the Banished Lands. His name was Mischievous Rock, and his nickname was Indestructible. For tens of thousands of years, no one in the Banished Lands had ever been able to harm Mischievous Rock. But this time, he encountered the Dark Moon King. Not only was he injured, he even lost his life. Clang, clang, clang. The trailer shook with time, bringing Mischievous Rock's body up and down. The residents of the land of exile on the hillside in the distance were dumbfounded as they said, That's the corpse of the Mischievous Rock King. My God, such a powerful orc leader was killed, and by the Dark Moon King who looks so petite. A young hiker with a face full of ulcers looked up and murmured, The Dark Moon King is so beautiful. If I can get a kiss from her, it'll be worth it even if I die. Do you want to die? 2 soldiers kicked him in the abdomen and shouted in a low voice, Do you know what the consequences of blaspheming the Dark Moon King are? It's death, and now you've chosen this path. The crossbow was raised, and the young hiker was about to be shot to death. But at this moment, an angelic voice came from the sky. Forget it, don't bother with him. It's her. The young hiker climbed up from the ground and looked up. The afterglow of the setting sun made that unbelievably beautiful face look especially holy. The girl only looked at him, and did not turn around to inspect her other territories. I must be dreaming, he murmured to himself. Howl. It was a dragon covered in red dragon scales. Its body was very long, and it coiled around the bottom of the chariot. Its huge head was rubbing against the Dark Moon King's snow-white arm, and it squinted its eyes like a spoiled child. When the Dark Moon King caressed its chin, the dragon's bones seemed to have softened. It knelt down on the bottom of the chariot and wagged its tail lazily. How is he now?" the girl asked. "Woo-woo." Catosaurus winked as it spoke. "Oh." The corner of the girl's mouth curled up into a beautiful smile. "It's good that you're fine. Is the god of that plane really that powerful? A mere mercenary leader can actually condense 52 grotto heavens?" "Howl." Catosaurus's head. The girl frowned slightly. "Let me ask you another question." Catosaurus wagged its tail and seemed very excited as it waited for the question. The girl wanted to say something but hesitated. After a while, she asked, "Is what you said true? He's my boyfriend?" Catosaurus nodded repeatedly. "This is his sword." The girl unsheathed the stellar sword from her waist. Her expression was a little lonely as she said, "I thought I was a nameless person, but you actually said that I have such an identity. If it really is him, why don't I have any spiritual connection with him?" The Catosaurus curled itself into a ball and whimpered. It obviously didn't know how to answer this question. It looked like an ostrich with its head buried in the ground. The girl couldn't be bothered to ask it anymore. At this moment, a leader riding on a battle beast galloped over and rushed onto the chariot. He dismounted and knelt on the ground, saying respectfully, "Your Majesty, will reach King Pashan's territory in another 20 miles. Our scouts have already informed us that he's preparing for war, and he's killed everyone in 3 small towns along the way. It seems like he wants to fortify the walls and clear out the fields, leaving us with no food. Soldiers can't fight on empty stomachs. What should we do now?" The girl's expression was indifferent, and she looked at the cart. "How long can this corpse last for 5,000 people?" The leader was dumbfounded. "You mean you want us to eat King Wuxia's corpse? What else?" The girl laughed. "Do you think I gave the order to bring Wuxia's corpse here just to show off to Pashan? That's too simple." "But..." The leader hesitated. "After all, Wuxia was once a king. It's blasphemy for us to eat his corpse. According to the rules of the Banished Lands, if we do that..." The girl interrupted him. "Are there rules in the Banished Lands?" There's no need to say anything else. Pass down my order. We're to set up camp 10 miles ahead of us. We're to cook Stubborn Rock's meat and advance only after we're full. We're to launch an attack tomorrow morning and force Pashan out of his tortoise shell." She caressed Acatosaurus's head and asked, "Do you have any other questions?" The leader looked at Acatosaurus and felt his heart tremble. The dragon was looking at him as if he was an ant. He nodded and said, "I understand. Don't worry, Your Majesty. We'll definitely conquer Pashan's Turtle City and let him die a horrible death. When that time comes, Your Majesty will be the true king of the Banished Lands. Go!" The next morning, the Banished Lands were filled with the sound of drums. Tortoise City was a city built with pitch-black rocks. It was originally built on top of a small town, but after Monarch Pashan settled in, Tortoise City was slowly built up. There were military camps, taverns, gambling dens, and many others. The travelers of the exiled lands would return to Tortoise City to rest after they were done hunting. The Banished Lands also had their own rules. Anyone who was in the sovereign's territory had to abide by the rules. They were not allowed to kill or fight. Otherwise, no matter who it was, they would not hesitate to be asked to leave by the army and be abandoned in the wilderness. The Dark Moon King's army seemed to be plated with a layer of gold, but everyone's faces were filled with excitement and joy. "Your Majesty has arrived." The crowd dispersed, and the girl slowly walked out with her stellar sword. Her beautiful eyes were filled with confusion. She didn't even understand why King Pashan was still putting up such a stubborn resistance. He was no match for her at all. "Is the penetrating cannon ready?" the girl asked. "It's ready." A leader respectfully said, "There's only one penetrating cannon in the entire Banished Lands, and there are only 5 cannonballs. Are you sure you want to use it, Your Majesty?" "Why not?" "Blast open their gates." "Yes." A huge cannon that was several meters tall was pushed out. Its surface was already rusty, and most of the paint on it had peeled off. One could vaguely see the words of another world. It must have been a piece of trash that had been thrown out by some highly civilized era. But here, this kind of thing had become a divine weapon. Fire! Wang wang wang! The huge cannon's strange head began to spin rapidly. Rays of light flickered within it as if it was accumulating power. In the next moment, a bang sound rang out as a ray of light shot out. Boom! In the distance, the iron gate of Turtle City, which was said to be indestructible, was directly blasted through. Both sides of the huge hole were filled with molten iron. Such power! The leader was dumbfounded. The girl nodded and said in a clear voice, "Pashan, I'm coming. Do you want to come out and die, or do you want me to go in and kill you?" Her voice traveled several kilometers, and there was no way the people in Turtle City couldn't hear it. The army was furious. Clang, clang, the iron gate that was still smashed suddenly collapsed. Amidst the flying dust, a man carrying a giant sword walked out. His face was full of beard, and the blade of the sword was full of cracks and scars. He looked at the enemy from afar and said, "Dark Moon, do you really want to kill me that badly?" The girl nodded. Pashan was stunned. He roared angrily, "I have no enmity with you. Why do you want to kill me?" "I don't know." The girl murmured, "Maybe I'm just bored. If I don't kill people, what else can I do in the land of exile? Farm? The sandstorm every night is enough to destroy all plants. Or do you want to be like those stinky men, getting drunk in taverns and sleeping with cheap maids?" Pashan shouted, "Since you want to kill me, then I won't let you have it easy." It's not that easy to kill me. Let me tell you, there are more than 4,000 residents and soldiers in Turtle Mountain City, and all of them have been infected with the plague. Once I die, they will immediately flee. No one in the land of exile can escape death." Cut the crap. A beam of light shot past. Pashan choked on the spot. There was a bloody hole in his throat, and fresh blood flowed out. One move. It was just a single move, yet the disparity between Sovereign King-level experts had reached such a level. Bang! Pashan's corpse fell to the ground, stirring up dust. "Your Majesty!" The leader hurried over on his beast mount. His face was pale. Pashan said that everyone in Turtle Mountain City has been infected with the plague. "What should we do?" "Fill the gates of Turtle Mountain with firewood and seal the city. Use up all our cannons and turn the city into ashes," the girl said lightly. "But Your Majesty, there are many innocent people there. If you have a better idea, I'll listen to you." "Yes, Your Majesty." A raging fire burned, and Turtle Mountain City was reduced to ruins in the blink of an eye. Above the clouds, behind the wall of light stood two people. They were Xianxia and Merlin. "She's ruthless and daring." Merlin frowned. "She killed Pashan in one strike. The Dark Moon Lord's strength has reached at least the 40th layer of the Grotto Heaven level. Moreover, she used Light-type Maxim Divine Power. She's a rare talent. I've misjudged her before. She was able to reach this level in such a short time. She'll surely stand out in the chosen trial." Xianxia remained silent. "Your Majesty Xianxia, what are you thinking?" "Oh," Xianxia responded softly. "I'm thinking that if I bring her back to participate in the chosen trial, will my position as a seraph be challenged?" "Ha, even you are afraid of her?" At this moment, a powerful force suddenly flew toward them. It was a beam of light on the ground. Clang! The star's sword slashed heavily on the wall of light. The wall of light instantly cracked. The Dark Moon Lord's merciless eyes stared at the wall of light. "Come out. You've been following me for many days. It's time to let me know who you are, right?" Chapter 788. Xianxia furrowed her brows and showed a hint of displeasure on her face. "How dare you offend me like this? She's just a rookie who has just lost her divine power. Let me teach her a lesson." Merlin's voice was cold. A light sword slowly materialized in his hand, and the 4 light wings on his back suddenly spread open. Without waiting for Xianxia's consent, He dashed out. As if appearing out of thin air, after Merlin appeared from behind the light wall, a powerful territory swept toward him. Time and space almost froze. Merlin slowly raised his light sword and smiled faintly. Do you know the consequences of offending the radiant angel of the heavenly realm? Of course, the girl did not know. Swoosh! The star's sword slashed out with violent and vigorous divine power. A sword light that was almost 1,000 meters long appeared in the air. It was as if it was going to split the sky. The sword light went straight for Merlin's head. Merlin was slightly startled. He could not help but look angry. You're asking for death. With a wave of his palm, the power of light particles was waved away by Merlin like ribbons. In the blink of an eye, it formed a dazzling light shield in front of him. Boom! The sky seemed to explode. Moving with his shadow, Merlin made a brazen attack. The light sword with the 95 levels of the Grotto Heaven's divine power fell on the girl's star's sword. Clang! The star's sword was almost knocked away. The girl groaned in pain. Blood splattered from her nostrils and mouth. The difference in strength was too great. Her tattered cloak fluttered in the wind. She did not give up on her attack. The sharp horn on her forehead was particularly ferocious, and a pair of fangs was revealed in her mouth. She reached out and grabbed Merlin's strong arm. Then, she attached herself to Merlin's back like a demon spirit. She raised her sharp claws and struck the main artery in her opponent's neck. Bang! A blood-red light splashed. She had only hit Merlin's god wall. Whoosh! She opened her small mouth abruptly, revealing her fangs that glowed with blood-red light. She aimed another vicious bite at Merlin's neck. She knew that the opponent before her was very strong, so she could only unleash her most primitive, wild instincts to fight him. This time, those sharp fangs actually pierced 2 tiny holes in the indestructible god wall. Merlin let out a miserable groan and hurriedly shook his arms, shouting, "Get out of my way!" Hong hong hong. The airwaves surged with his spirit as the core, blowing the young girl away like a broken leaf. Merlin, on the other hand, was furious out of humiliation. "I'm going to kill you, you disobedient be***starred. Merlin, stop." It was Xian's voice. Her gaze was gentle as she looked at the young girl floating in the wind. "Don't be afraid, I am Xian, an angel from the Western Divine Realm." Congratulations, you have already been chosen by the Western Divine Realm to participate in the trial of the chosen of gods. Once you pass the trial, you will be able to obtain the blessing and obtain the wings of an angel. Right now, what you need to do is to give up resisting and follow us back to the Western Divine Realm. Don't worry, no one will harm you. Hiss hiss. The young girl blinked her demonic spirit eyes and revealed a fierce expression. It was as if she would kill Xian with all her might if she were to come near. Sigh. Xian sighed and suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, she appeared behind the young girl without a sound. Her 5 fingers turned into knives and lightly struck the back of the young girl's head. 99 layers of golden airwaves surged and the young girl fell softly with a whimper. Xian took advantage of the situation and hugged the young girl in her arms. Looking at the bloodstains on the young girl's face, Xian could not help but feel sorry for her. She said, "A lord who came from the banished land is destined to be a strong person. Don't worry, I'm here in the future. I won't let you experience such painful memories again. You will become one of the angels that the Western Divine Realm can be proud of." "Great Lady Xian." Merlin frowned and said, "This woman is not simple. The demonic energy she just used was actually able to penetrate my god's wall. If I'm not wrong, she's the legendary Shura, neither human nor ghost nor god. She wandered the 3 realms and became a cruel killer. How could the Western Divine Realm choose such a person to participate in the Chosen One trial?" "Is that so?" The wings and cloak behind Xian fluttered lightly. Her gaze was calm as she smiled. "Then what do you plan to do? We are the rulers of the Divine Realm. It is our duty to maintain peace between the heavens and the earth. And Shura should be killed. If I were to use my method, it would be better to chop off her head and absorb her godhead. With this godhead, I'll use it to reconstruct a spiritual body. Her divine power ripples are so strong, it should at least be a cast immortal. Don't waste it. Is that so? Xianxia smiled. She was still holding the girl in her arms. Merlin, you're not someone with the power of God's strategy. You can't see through people's hearts, so you don't know how much pain she has suffered. However, I can see it. I can see some of her memory fragments. I can feel her pain, so... Her gaze turned cold as she said, "From now on, if you dare to have any thoughts of killing her, be careful that I kill you. Don't think that the ruler will speak up for you. There are only 2 blazing angels in the entire Western God realm, me and little baby, but there are more than 100 radiant angels. Do you think that Claude will choose to believe you or me? I'm warning you. You want to kill her because she can break through your divine wall. Her future achievements will be higher than yours. I advise you to give up on this idea." Merlin was startled. "Lady Xianxia, you are a radiant angel, 1 level higher than me. I will naturally listen to you. However, I, Merlin, am not an alarmist. This woman is a Shura and is not a good person. Moreover, she only has killing and revenge in her heart. Such a person will sooner or later become a scourge in the Western divine realm. That is all I have to say. I hope Lady Xianxia knows what to do." Xianxia raised her eyebrows and looked at him coldly. Her beautiful face was filled with anger. "Are you warning me? If you are, I can kill you in the banished land. No one will know. If not, you better apologize." "You." Merlin gritted his teeth and bowed respectfully. "Lady Xianxia, I know my mistake. Please punish me. Forget it. Return to the divine realm. Pretend that nothing happened here." Merlin looked at the ground. There was still a large group of travelers from the banished land who had been subdued by the Dark Moon King. Among them, there was no lack of strong leaders. He said, "What about the Dark Moon King's subordinates? There are almost 10,000 of them. Will these people see through the secret of reincarnation and come to the divine realm for revenge? Then what do you want to do?" Xianxia asked lightly. Merlin revealed a murderous intent again. "Cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Kill this group of people and let the Dark Moon King cultivate in the divine realm in peace. What do you think, Lady Xianxia?" Xianxia's eyes showed deep disappointment. She smiled faintly. "Merlin, do you know what an angel is? An angel is an angel. Do you know why your realm has been stagnant for tens of thousands of years? You entered the ranks of the God Emperor 100,000 years earlier than me. Why?" This time, Merlin was a little nervous. Xianxia smiled faintly. "Because an angel is only a clergy. We exist because of our faith. We are compassionate and we save all the suffering in the world. If you have lost the thought of compassion and justice, and only think of killing and power, how can someone like you see through the mysteries of the 99 heaven?" Merlin was silent. After a few seconds, he said, "I understand. Thank you, Lady Xianxia, for pointing it out. Don't talk so much. Return to the divine realm with me." When she woke up, she did not know when or where she was. When she opened her eyes, she was lying on a warm bed with a soft quilt covering her body. She could not remember how long it had been since she had such a soft quilt. There was no cotton in the banished land, let alone quilts. Most of the quilts were made of linen. It was like a shroud covering her body. There was no comparison at all. This was a room with green bricks and green tiles. Beside the bed was a huge floor-to-ceiling window. Sunlight shone in from outside. "Sunlight," she murmured. The sunlight here was completely different from the sunlight in the banished land. She stretched out her palm. When her 5 fingers came into contact with the sunlight, she felt a burning pain. She hurriedly withdrew her fingers in pain. She saw that her fingertips were grayish-black, but they were slowly turning back to white. The body of Ashura cannot directly withstand the light of the divine realm. The blazing sun of the divine realm gathers the purest light divine power between heaven and earth. A voice came from afar. The voice came from a hall connected to the small room. A graceful woman was sitting there, tasting the thick soup. She smiled in satisfaction and said, "The grouper soup of the holy lake is indeed delicious." For you. The girl sat up, but found that she was not wearing any clothes. She felt a faint swelling pain at the back of her head. The beautiful woman in the hall stood up. Her slender legs were wearing exquisite leather boots, and she was wearing a chain short skirt. She was obviously a practitioner. Her eyes were deep as she smiled. My name is Xian. I am one of the blazing angels in charge of the Western Divine Realm. I am also your direct superior. Congratulations, from now on, you are a member of the Western Divine Realm. The girl looked at her and said indifferently. It seems that you did not ask for my permission. Do I still need to ask for permission? Xian smiled beautifully and generously. You can't even take a single blow from me, so there is no need to ask for permission. Besides, the Banished Land is only one of the most insignificant places in the lower realm. With your talent, it would be a waste to stay in the Banished Land. In the Western Divine Realm, you will be trained and become one of the strongest gods. The only thing we need you to do is to pledge loyalty to Lord Claude. What if I don't agree? Xian smiled again. She raised her finger elegantly and snapped it. The girl thought for a few seconds. I agree. Hee, that's right. Let's go. Change into a new set of clothes. I will take you to sign up for the Chosen God trial. Thank you. Chapter 789. It was a set of clothes from the Divine Realm. It was no longer made of linen, but rather an unknown brocade. It was somewhat similar to satin. The shirt and cloak on Xian's body should be made of this material. It looked very elegant and beautiful. The girl caressed the clothes. The material was similar to Xian's clothes, but the style was completely different. It was just a simple short skirt and upper garment. It should be the difference in rank. Stop looking. Xian smiled faintly and said, My clothes are specially made according to the rank of a blazing angel. Yours is just the clothes of a female divine servant. You have just entered the Western Divine Realm and have almost nothing. If you want to wear better clothes, then prove your strength to everyone. The girl nodded and began to wear her clothes. Xian stared at her perfect figure, and as Xian stared, she suddenly pursed her lips, revealing a trace of displeasure. She was jealous. The curves of the other party's figure were like heaven's work, extremely perfect, even slightly better than her own. All right, let's go. Take this with you. Xian raised her hand and threw the stellar sword. With a pa sound, the girl caught the stellar sword. There was a strange yet familiar feeling. She couldn't help but become more calm. She smiled and nodded, Yes, Lady Xian. After walking out of the room, she discovered that the outside was very spacious and there wasn't just one house. A large number of houses were located here, and there was a bridge in the air in front of them. The bridge was made of stone bricks, and it stood in the air without any support. It was connected to the land on the other side, and the green mountains and clear waters of the land were actually suspended in the air. The young girl was secretly amazed. Was this the legendary divine realm? Looking down, there were layers of clouds below the heaven realm. Under the layers of clouds, she could vaguely see a continent. This continent should be the divine realm. There's no need to think about it. Xian smiled and said, Only high-ranking members of the clergy are qualified to live on the spirited mountain. The land you see is only the lowest level of the divine realm. Countless mortals and gods with mediocre cultivations stay there to cultivate. If they can't break through, they will have to live at the lowest level for the rest of their lives. The young girl was stunned. She didn't expect that the immortal realm would have such a strict hierarchy. Xian continued, The God's Chosen trial is held once every 100 years and it is used to select the most outstanding cultivators of the younger generation in the Western God realm. According to the rules, every god who is at or above the level of a radiant angel is given a recommendation. Most people have already given up and I would normally have given up as well, but this year. Xian looked at her deeply and said, Because I met you so, I decided to make an exception and recommend you to participate in the God's Chosen trial. I was the one who recommended you, so don't lose my, Xian's, face. Understood, Lady Xian. The girl spoke very little, as if she had always been like this. Do you remember who you are now? Xian asked. The girl shook her head. I can't remember. Everything is just fragments of my memory. I can't connect them at all. Lady Xian is someone with the power of divine strategy and can see through people's minds. Whether I can remember or not, you should know very well, right? Xian couldn't help but smile. Yes, that's right. I'm sorry, I didn't want to see through your mind. I just wanted to see what you were thinking out of habit. Oh right, if you don't have a name, you can't participate in the God's Chosen trial because you can't register at all. Do you remember your name? I don't remember. All right, I'll give you a new name now. Follow me. You'll be called Xin, right? Thank you, Lady Xian, for giving me a name. You're welcome. Let's go. Across the bridge is the largest trial in the Western Divine Realm. To prevent her from being hurt by the sunlight, Xian summoned dense clouds in the sky. Just as Xian said, this trial was built on top of a spiritual mountain. Although it was called a mountain, the training grounds were almost all over the spiritual mountain. There were hundreds of trial halls alone. Xian leaped up and flew into the air. The girl also followed. In the blink of an eye, the two of them landed in front of the trial hall. A group of two-winged angel guards wearing black armor bowed respectfully. Greetings, Lady Xian. No need to be so polite. Open the door. I brought someone to register for the God's Chosen trial. Yes. With a creaking sound, the door covered in carvings slowly opened. The inside was empty. Xian walked in and smiled. No need to be nervous. Come in. The girl followed closely behind. I was wondering where you came from. So it's Blazing Angel Xian. This old man greets you, lady. The main hall was empty except for a round table in the middle. Around it were more than 10 white-haired old men dressed in dark blue robes. They were probably the clergy of the Western Divine Realm. One of them, an old man holding a walking stick, bowed in a trembling manner. Xian smiled. Lord Lugu, no need to be so polite. This is? Lugu's sleepy eyes fell on the girl. Oh, her name is Xin. She's the person I recommended to participate in the God's Chosen trial. Oh, is that so? Lugu carefully looked at the girl and said, what a nice name. Come, write her name on the register. Xian turned around and sat down on a chair, crossing her two long legs high, and said with a smile, Sir Lugu, how many people are participating in the God's Chosen trial this time? Are there a lot of useful people? Lugu respectfully said, reporting to Lady Xian, there are a total of 220 people who have registered. Including Lady Xin, there are 221 people. Most of them are experts from various major planes. In addition, the 4 great families have each recommended one person to participate in the God's Chosen trial. They are Terralin of the Radiant Clan, Lake of the Darklight Clan, Zhou Shimin of the Heavenly Hope Clan, and Luo Pei of the Sea Breeze Clan. Terralin is known as the strongest expert of the Radiant Clan's younger generation in the last 500 years. She has already cultivated to the 29th layer of the Heavenly Abode. The other 3 are not far behind. In short, there will be a good show to watch in this God's Chosen trial. Xian frowned and said, Is there anything else? There is. Lugu said, Lady Xian, in your hometown, GD14, a new talent has appeared. Her name is Dora. She is a woman who has cultivated to the 44th layer of the Heavenly Abode at the age of 27. However, she is a commoner, so she wants to use this God's Chosen trial to become one of the battle angels of the God realm. It is also because of the appearance of this 44th layer of the Heavenly Abode that the 4 great families are very nervous. Almost everyone is very optimistic about her. Xian pursed her red lips and said, Is the training starting tomorrow? Lugu smiled. Starting from tonight, all the participants can only stay in the trial field until the final victor is decided 10 days later. During this time, the trial field is completely closed and no one is allowed to enter. Even Lord Claude is not allowed to enter. So if Lady Xian has something to say to Xin, then hurry up and say it. If you are late, you might not have the chance to say it. The girl frowned, not understanding the deeper meaning of Lugu's words. However, as a blazing angel of the Western Heaven realm, Xian naturally understood. The so-called God's Chosen trial was actually a method of survival of the fittest. Within 10 days, the losers would be continuously eliminated, and the losers would be very tragic. Being disabled was already considered lucky. According to past practice, the death rate was more than 80%, and most of the losers would die and nothing else. In the end, the top 10 winners would be decided, and according to their performance, they would be given the qualifications to become battle angels. Battle angels were divided into 7 levels. A level 7 battle angel could obtain the inheritance of 4 wings if they broke through again, but since ancient times, there were not many people who could successfully break through. Otherwise, the Western divine realm would have long been overrun with 4-winged angels, and Claude would probably be grinning from ear to ear. If there were another 10,000 4-winged angels, Claude would definitely declare war on East Heaven and destroy the forces of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, he could only think like this and did not have such a chance. Lugu smiled. Madame Xian, you are a blazing angel, one of the leaders. You have immunity. Do you need us to give you a way out and let you live? This, Xian muttered to herself. Her beautiful eyes looked deeply at the girl beside her, then she shook her head. There is no need for special treatment. I am very clear about Xin's strength. Even without any special treatment, she can still walk out of the trial unharmed. Ha, Lugu laughed shakily. All right then. As expected of someone that Madame Xian has taken a liking to. Then, we will treat her as an equal and do as Madame Xian said. And all right. Xian stood up and put her hands on the girl's shoulders. With a deep gaze, she said, Xin, do your best. I will always pay attention to you. Don't let me down. Walk out of the trial and become a battle angel. In addition, you need to cultivate the power of the law of light to overcome your own flaws. You know best what kind of existence you are. The girl nodded. She knew that she was an Azura, a person who could not withstand the power of light. Moreover, all the competitors in the trial were cultivators of the law of light. This was a bit too much for her. However, there was naturally a secret hidden in the depths of her heart. That secret was hidden in the depths of her EC. The small light law spirit bead that lingered around her divine spark was a secret that even Xian could not see through. Then come with me. A burly man walked forward and respectfully bowed to Xian. I am the instructor here. Miss Xin, please come with me. I will take you to the dormitory area. Your trial will begin at 10 o'clock sharp tonight. The girl nodded and followed him into the trial field. She did not even look back. Xian heaved a sigh. She did not rely on him at all. Whether this was a good thing or a bad thing, no one knew. Chapter 790. In the training field, there were altar-style buildings and there were many guards. Judging from the aura, there were many God-King level powerhouses among these guards, and the instructor leading the way in front had steady steps and a long breath. With every step he took, he could faintly create a divine power impact, a total of 55 waves. The girl walked quietly, but in her heart, she was thinking about what her chances of winning would be if she fought with this instructor. Perhaps if she used the Celestial Dragon Crystal, she would have a 40% chance of winning, but if she hid her cultivation of the Law of Light and only fought with the power of Shura, she might not even have a 10% chance of winning. Fortunately, this instructor did not comprehend the power of divine strategy, so he did not know the thoughts of the contestant behind him. Okay, your dormitory is here. The instructor suddenly opened an iron door. Inside was a row of beds, a total of 12, which meant that there were a total of 12 people living in this room. The moment the iron door was opened, 10 pairs of eyes looked over at the same time. It seemed that everyone was looking forward to who the last contestant in the dormitory would be. But when they saw it, they all looked a little disappointed, even contemptuous. There was no other reason. The clothes of the last contestant was only a god's servant, which meant that she was the lowest level existence in the realm of gods, but she was actually so beautiful that even women felt jealous. Go in. The instructor urged, eat on time at 8 p.m., then get ready to start the training. Your daily necessities are ready, they are beside the bed. Thank you. The girl walked over silently. Her bed was the innermost one, the bedding was ready, and daily necessities were placed on the table next to it. At the same time, she also noticed that there was a girl in a beautiful short skirt sitting on the bed closest to her, somewhat similar to Xian's attire. She did not look at her from beginning to end. But her name was written on her bed, Terralyn, a contestant of the Light Clan, and also known as the strongest among the younger generation of the Light Clan in 500 years. She did not care about others, just sat down quietly, tidied up her necessities, then leaned against the bed and began to rest. However, the rest of the girls quickly became familiar with each other and started chattering away. Most of them were chosen by their respective families. Not to mention their own status, due to the power of their families, even if they were eliminated, they would not be killed. Therefore, they naturally did not need to worry about their lives, and their mentality was extremely relaxed. "Hey, what's your name?" Finally, a skinny girl asked her. "Xin." "Oh? Xin?" The girl smiled. What a strange name. In the Western Divine Realm, there aren't many people with names that start with the character Xi. Then, Xin, which family recommended you? Xin was very calm and replied politely, "It's not the family's recommendation. I was recommended by Lady Xian." "What? Lady Xian?" This sentence was like a stone thrown into a lake, stirring up countless waves. Almost all the girls focused their attention on her, and even Terralyn, who thought highly of herself, glanced at her. It's so strange. Lady Xian has never recommended anyone to participate in the chosen trial for tens of thousands of years. This time, she actually recommended you. Could it be? Xin, you are Lady Xian's sister? No. The girl shook her head and said, "No." Then how did you and Lady Xian meet? She hesitated for a moment and said, "Lady Xian found me in the land of exile." What? The land of exile? The skinny girl was stunned. How is this possible? The land of exile is such a filthy place. How can people there be qualified to participate in the chosen trial? Lady Xian probably thinks that I have some potential. She replied helplessly. Immediately, the girls hissed. At this moment, no one looked at her with admiration or respect. What kind of place was the banished land? It was a dog-eat-dog place and was despised by all the plains. Not to mention, most of these girls came from the various great clans of the Divine Realm and were doted on since they were young. Naturally, they looked down on people from the banished land even more. At this moment, Xin seemed to have been banished once again. However, she didn't care. She hugged her knees and quietly sat there, waiting for the arrival of dinner. To her, the opinions of others didn't matter at all. Sunlight shone through the small window onto the bed. She tried to touch it again and again, but her body was burned again and again. Finally, when she finally concentrated the power of the law of light under her skin, the burning pain from the God Realm's sunlight was not as intense. Although it was still very painful, she was able to stay under the sunlight. She was somewhat gratified. If she couldn't do this, she probably wouldn't be able to pass the next trial no matter what. Finally, the 8th day arrived. The dormitory's metal door was pulled open again. An instructor holding a shining whip said in a cold voice, "All right, come out and eat with me." The group of girls stood up one after another. "Something's wrong." The instructor's eyes were cold. "Change into the training clothes you were given." Immediately. Only half of the people were wearing the training clothes. They were very coarse clothes, at least far inferior to brocade. Thus, only half of the girls here had changed into the training clothes, including Xin. "Instructor, the training clothes are too uncomfortable. Can't we wear our original clothes?" A rather good-looking girl asked. "No. Why not?" The instructor sneered. The whip in his hand turned into a long snake and flew out. With a puss sound, it shattered the divine power aura wall around the girl and left a long bloody mark on her beautiful face. "You can't. If you dare to ask a second time, this whip will crush your throat." The Chosen of God trial was far crueler than they had imagined. The girls went to change their clothes without a word. A few minutes later, They were all wearing the same clothes and followed the instructor out of the dormitory. Xin quietly followed everyone. She was the last one, and everyone seemed to think that she was the last one. There were a total of 12 girls in this dormitory. Apart from Xin, Terralyn was the strongest, with 29 grotto heavens. The rest were mostly at grotto heavens 1 to 20, and without exception, they were all gods. After all, this was the chosen of God trial, and it was the God realm. Mortals, even divine heaven realm experts, were not qualified to participate. Dinner was held in a large hall. This time they saw more people. A total of 221 participants were eating together, and the food was very exquisite and rich. There were slices of meat, bread, milk, and so on. Gods could not eat for a long time, but it would definitely affect their strength. Thus, maintaining a meal every day was something every god would do. The 221 people were divided into 11 groups, and Xin was in the second group. The instructor was a four-winged radiant angel, Li Fei. It was a name that was completely different from her, and her appearance was more in the style of the Shattered Cauldron realm, belonging to the Orientals. This was not strange. Although the four celestial realms had very different languages and cultures, their languages had already begun to assimilate after Fuxi ascended to the heavens beyond heaven. The people on the other planets were all different, and their languages were also very different. However, they would eventually return to unification. As the king of gods in the heavens beyond heaven and the founder of the Eastern civilization, this was very easy for Fuxi to accomplish. Among the thousands of planes under the jurisdiction of the Western Divine Realm, the Celestial Pole Continent and the other planes all spoke Fuxi's language and had similar cultures, but they were still under the jurisdiction of the Western Divine Realm. This was without a doubt. Follow me. Li Fei wore a pair of leather boots and walked in a straight line. Her tight-fitting short skirt outlined the curves of her round and smooth buttocks, making them extremely enchanting. This caused a few of the male participants to involuntarily swallow their saliva. As the participants of the various great clans, they naturally did not lack women. However, they had never tasted a divine emperor-level woman like Li Fei before. Haiku. Li Fei's voice was very seductive. She smiled and said, "If you continue to let your imagination run wild, I guarantee that I'll smash that dirty head of yours." The young man called Haiku was so frightened that his entire body trembled. He hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to let his imagination run wild anymore. Today is your first lesson, and it's also the 9th last lesson. Li Fei brought everyone into a cultivation hall, and there was a group of guards keeping watch. She continued, "Today's topic is called control, the control of the powers of light. The reason why I've chosen to have this lesson late at night is because there's no sunlight at this time. I want you all to use your own abilities to create a temporary sun in the middle of the night without sunlight." Creating a sun was not difficult, but it was not easy. As a god, creating something was very common. Of course, it was very common for a god emperor, but it was not so easy for a new god rookie. It required a very strong control over the light element, as well as a very strong reserve of divine power. Li Fei said, "It's very simple. Accumulate the power of your laws of light and blast it into the sky. Maintain the light and heat for 10 minutes, and you'll be considered to have completed the task. You can then go back and have a good sleep. Otherwise, you can only continue to stay here and participate in the trial." It's very simple. A young man walked out of the hall, and with a low roar, golden light enveloped his body. Waves of golden aura rippled out in all directions. His palms spun rapidly, and a dazzling energy body condensed. With a shout, this sun shot into the sky, but it disappeared in less than 5 seconds. Li Fei sneered, "Oh, the young master of the Nisai family doesn't seem to have enough stamina?" Everyone roared with laughter. Li Fei's gaze swept across everyone and she said, "Who else wants to try?" After that, a few more participants went to try. The result was that they either did not have enough power or they did not have enough stamina. However, there was a young man called Lake who managed to last for 7 minutes on his first try. It was only a matter of time before he broke through to 10 minutes tonight. Finally, when it was Xin's turn, Everyone's gaze turned to him. A girl giggled and said, "Xian from the land of exile, let us see what you've got." Everyone roared with laughter again, as if it was a disgrace to come from the land of exile. Perhaps it had always been like this. The girl remained silent. She knew that the land of exile was indeed too filthy. It was a memory that she did not want to recall. Chapter 791. Xian completed the task at around 1 in the morning. When she returned to the dormitory, she found that someone was already there. It was Terralyn. The moment she saw Xian enter the dormitory, Terralyn was a little surprised. She did not expect that someone who came from the banished land would be able to complete the instructor's tasks so quickly and return safely. Terralyn snorted softly. Xian, however, did not say a word. She quietly walked to her bed, took her things, washed up, and went to sleep. After midnight, the participants came back one after another. Many of the girls' hands were red, bleeding, and charred. That was the result of being burned by light energy. In order to condense enough light energy, their bodies had to undergo such a test. No one said a word and quietly fell asleep. The next day, an even more difficult challenge awaited them. The next day, before the sun had completely risen, a violent knocking sound came from outside. The instructor sternly shouted in a low voice, "Wake up, today's lesson is about to begin." The girls woke up with a start. Some of them had slept for less than an hour. No one complained. They hurriedly got up and quickly gathered at the training field. However, there were less than 221 people today. Just last night, 11 people were eliminated and they chose to give up. Today's lesson is very simple. On the high platform, Li Fei, who was wearing a short skirt and leather boots, held a leather whip in her hand. Her face was full of smiles as she said, "I am the Deputy Dean of the Western Divine Realms training field, and also the instructor of Class 2. Today's lesson will be held together, and the name of today's lesson is Dark Ice Crystals." Many participants showed a look of horror. Xian did not understand what was going on. Nearby, Terralyn glanced at her and whispered, "Dark ice crystals are also known as black coffins. It is the burial place of many Law of Light cultivators." Xian nodded and didn't ask any questions. On the stage, Vice Dean Li Fei giggled and said, "Look, these kids are scared out of their wits." That's right, just as you all know, the dark ice crystal is also known as the black coffin. It's a crystallization of pure dark energy and also a powerful dark domain. The black coffin contains the most powerful law of darkness. Once you enter the black coffin, you will no longer receive any help. You can only rely on your own strength to break through the darkness and obtain a new life. Otherwise, you will die in the black coffin. But don't worry, as members of the divine profession, you will receive a good burial. Many of the male contestants had fantasized about Li Fei, but now it was completely different. Li Fei was like a beautiful demon. This woman couldn't be touched, or it would kill them. A young candidate asked in a tender voice, "Deputy Dean Li Fei, may I ask, how can our divine power of light break through the darkness?" The power of darkness in the black coffin is the root of the abyss of darkness. It is said that it is extraordinarily powerful. Ignorant. Li Fei glanced at him contemptuously and opened her palm. Suddenly, dawn broke in the sky. A golden ray of dawn pierced through the darkness. Her body slowly rose and bathed in the morning light. She seemed to be very comfortable, for holy wings spread out behind her. She smiled and said, "We are all followers of the law of light. We seek the blessing of the Lord of Light. You don't understand what a god is, what power is. Now, I can tell you." She pondered for a moment and said, "The light of the Lord of Light can't be seen by mortals. They burn everything. The fire of the Lord of Light can't cook mortal dishes. They burn everything. The soil of the Lord of Light can't grow trees. They form mountains and rivers. The lightning of the Lord of Light can't be controlled by humans. They are born free. The ice of the sovereigns traversed the 10,000 icy rivers." Speaking up to this point, the beautiful Vice Dean suddenly paused. With a charming smile, she said, "Oh, I almost forgot that all of you are rookies. It's useless to tell you all this. All right, prepare yourselves and enter the black coffins prepared for you. Remember, you must give it your all and use your light divine energy to pierce through the darkness. The results of today's class will be recorded, and the first 10 participants to break through the black coffins will be rewarded with Radiant Origin Stones. Radiant Origin Stones, everyone knows what they are, right? Everyone exclaimed in surprise again. The Radiant Primal Stone was one of the rarest treasures in the divine world. It was as precious as a godhead. The Radiant Primal Stone was formed in the core of a spirit mountain, and each spirit mountain was a plane. In other words, the Radiant Primal Stone was the crystallization of the entire plane's spirit energy. Moreover, the majority of planes needed thousands or even tens of thousands of years to form a Radiant Primal Stone. One could imagine how precious this small stone was. Radiant Origin Stone. A middle-aged participant with a short beard trembled as he said, "I must win the Radiant Primal Stone. This way, my family will have a chance to rise again." Xian's delicate brows furrowed slightly. She had never heard of the Radiant Primal Stone. However, the Vice Dean's words just now had moved her. The light of the sovereigns could not be seen by mortals. It could burn everything. That's right, in Xian's understanding, it seemed that true light was the same. It was not salvation, but destruction. Amidst the rustling sounds, countless guards rushed into the training field. Every 4 of them carried a huge black ice crystal. The ice crystal was about 5 meters long and 3 meters wide. It was big enough to hold a person. It looked like a simple and unadorned stone, but every cultivator could feel a surging power within the ice crystal that made them feel extremely uncomfortable. Darkness. If the nemesis of darkness was light, then the nemesis of light was also darkness. Since ancient times, countless light gods had died at the hands of the darkness god. Clang, clang, clang. Pieces of ice crystals were erected beside the participants. Xian also had a piece erected beside her. There was an undercurrent surging within the ice crystal. It was as if streams of dark water were flowing within the ice crystal. They swirled endlessly, and it was a shocking sight to behold. On the stage, Li Fei smiled faintly. "I wish you all good luck. Now you can enter the ice crystal." The guards all used their weapons to stab into the ice crystal and forcefully pulled. Suddenly, there was a creaking sound. The ice crystal actually had an opening. The cold wind whistled, and the temperature of the entire training field suddenly dropped by more than 10 degrees. Frost lingered in the air. It was going to snow soon. Another instructor frowned and said, "What are you waiting for? Enter the black coffin immediately." These black coffins were not easy to obtain. Each one of them was obtained through our hard work. Don't waste them. You must know that if you can break out of the black coffin, your cultivation will also increase greatly. The black coffin can kill you, but it can also stimulate your potential. This is a game for the brave. Now is the time. Enter. Xian jumped into the black coffin. Her beautiful figure did not hesitate at all. Not far away, Terralyn was startled. She frowned slightly. This Xian was becoming more and more complicated. Was she looking forward to the cultivation after entering the black coffin? This kind of person was very scary. The group of participants entered the black coffin one after another. After they entered the black coffin, the Immortal Realm guards closed the black coffin's exit. If they wanted to come out, they had to break the black coffin. Swoosh! After entering the black coffin, Xian immediately felt as if she had sunk into dark seawater. She felt that she could not breathe. She held her breath and stopped breathing. Golden light energy revolved around her body, using it to attack the dark energy. However, it seemed that she had underestimated the dark energy. Wave after wave came, and every time the dark tide surged, there were actually 99 layers of waves. No wonder, she frowned. She finally understood why the black coffin was so precious. It contained the purest dark energy. It was comparable to the energy of a cultivator with the 99 levels of the law of darkness. Her first attempt at attacking the black coffin failed very quickly. She was exhausted, and the light divine power in her body seemed to be almost exhausted. Moreover, the dark energy continued to corrode her body. It wanted to occupy her body. Xin gritted her teeth. Her eyes stared at the deep sea of darkness. She clenched her fists and let out a cry. In an instant, a golden light covered her body. It was the divine wall. The power obtained from breaking through the 30th level of the grotto heaven was also one of her trump cards. Once the divine wall appeared, the dark energy could no longer invade her body. What she needed to do was to wait for her divine power to recover. Once she was full, she would start the next attack. In her EC, the young overgod lattice emitted a rich light, providing her with the power to rush out of this dark space. But soon, Xin found that the dark energy around her seemed to have an inexplicable affinity with her. Her body even began to enjoy the dark energy. She was shocked and quickly understood that it was the Azura constitution. Azuras were originally assassins in the dark. Now that she was inside the black coffin, the surrounding dark energy seemed to recognize her as its master. This is great. She rejoiced inwardly and opened her eyes. Her eyes were covered in a layer of blood-red light, and her body was surrounded by a faint red light. She allowed the dark energy to flow into her body. Then she used her overgod divinity to convert the dark energy into light energy. As a result, the power of darkness in the black coffin became lesser and lesser, while the power of light became greater and greater. What's going on? On the instructor's stand, a bearded instructor looked at a black coffin in the distance. He saw that the light in the black coffin was faintly discernible. In contrast, other than the black coffins of Terralyn, Dora, and Lake, which were glowing with a faint golden light, the black coffins of the other participants were mostly dark. He said with a face full of suspicion, "Is that Xin?" "That's right." Li Fei squinted her beautiful eyes and smiled. The person chosen by Lady Xian is indeed not ordinary. Can she break out of the black coffin in an hour? If that's the case, she will break the record set by Lady Xian. Not necessarily. Li Fei smiled faintly. Watch carefully. The participants this time are getting more and more interesting. Chapter 792. 4 hours passed in the blink of an eye. The sun shone down on the Western Divinity realm. The black coffins were still standing there, glowing faintly. Many of the stronger participants had already expelled more than half of the divine darkness energy in their black coffins, especially those of Dora, Lake, and Terralyn. There wasn't much darkness energy left in their black coffins. The explosion sent shockwaves in all directions, causing the guards of the god realm to frown. The westernmost coffin exploded, and a beautiful woman bathed in golden light walked out of the darkness. It was Dora. Congratulations to Dora for being the first participant to break through. One of the instructors announced loudly. The recorder beside him wrote down Dora's name in the first place. The bearded instructor frowned. He didn't expect Dora to be the first to break through instead of Xin. Logically speaking, Xin's progress was much faster than Dora's. She should have broken through 2 hours ago, but she didn't seem to want to break through. She was still wasting time aimlessly. What is Xin doing? He asked in dissatisfaction. Li Fei couldn't help but smile. Lord Kulun, why are you so anxious? Even Xin isn't anxious, so why are you so anxious? Kulun clenched his fists. I think you know better than me how precious a radiant primordial stone is. Every radiant primordial stone needs the Lord Ruler's permission to use it. Even you and Lady Xian have only used 5 radiant primordial stones in your lifetime. I hope such a precious radiant primordial stone will be used by the newcomer with the most potential. I know what you mean. Don't worry, there will be results. Soon, there were 2 more explosions. This time, Terralyn and Lake broke through together. Congratulations to Terralyn for becoming the second participant to break through. Congratulations to Lake for becoming the third participant to break through. Terralyn and Lake's names also appeared on the top 10 list. When Terralyn, who was bathed in holy light, walked to the high platform, a group of instructors congratulated her, but Terralyn did not say a word and looked below the platform. The black coffin crystal that belonged to Xi'an was glowing with a golden light, and the divine power of light was about to burst out, but it did not break through. Only God knew what this girl from the banished land was thinking. Peng! With another explosion, the fourth place also appeared. It was Luo Pei from the Sea Breeze clan. Not long after, the fifth place also appeared. It was Zhou Shimin from the Tianxi clan. What is she waiting for? Terralyn muttered indifferently. On the side, Dora's small body contained a powerful force. She narrowed her beautiful eyes and remained silent. She also knew that the most threatening people among the competitors were already standing on the stage, but only Xin had not appeared yet. She was the person selected by Seraph Shiyen, so she would never fall out of the top 10 so easily. Very soon, the sounds of explosions rang out incessantly, and the 7th, 8th, and 9th place were produced one after another. They were all talents selected by the major clans. These people had received strict education and training since they were young, and they never lacked cultivation materials. The demon spirit stones sent from the celestial pole continent could allow them to step into the divine realm very quickly. Furthermore, their outstanding bloodlines also gave them unique advantages, and their cultivation speed was not something that ordinary people could compare with. Still not coming out? Kulun clenched his fist and looked into the distance nervously. Inside the black coffin, Xin closed her eyes and naturally stretched her body. She had fallen asleep. The process of cultivation in the black coffin was simply a kind of enjoyment for her. Just when the dark power was almost exhausted, she opened her eyes and easily shattered the black coffin with a burst of power. Bang! Fragments scattered in all directions. She floated in the air like a fairy, stunning Lake, Zhou Shimin, and the other men. In terms of appearance, perhaps even beauties like Dora and Vice Dean Li Fei could not compare with this beauty from the land of exile. Only God knew how that filthy land gave birth to such a peerless beauty. Kulin smiled. Congratulations to Xin for becoming the 10th participant to break through. Xin landed on the ground and walked up the platform step by step. Li Fei also nodded with a smile. Not bad. In the group led by Li Fei, Xin was the most outstanding one. After all, Li Fei was the leader of the second group, so she naturally hoped that she could achieve outstanding results. Miss Xin, my name is Lake, and I am from the Darklight clan. Lake was only in his 20s, so he could not help but be attracted to beauties of the same age. However, Xin looked at him blankly, as if she did not know what he meant by these words. Lake was a little embarrassed, and his outstretched hand hung in the air. To think that he was also an outstanding figure among the rising stars of the Western God realm. Whether it was in terms of cultivation or appearance, he was outstanding. Who knew how many women from various families had extended an olive branch to him? However, in front of Xin, Lake actually felt that he was practically nothing. Terralyn smiled faintly and did not say anything. However, this smile was like a slap to Lake's face, and he immediately blushed. Li Fei saw this and did not say anything. At this moment, there was a sudden explosion in the distance, and flames shot into the sky. What happened? Did someone break through again? Terralyn asked in surprise. No, not a breakthrough, but a death. Li Fei sighed. This kind of thing was inevitable in every chosen of God trial. Kulun shouted in a low voice, "Guards, extinguish the fire." A group of guards rushed forward and used their divine power to extinguish the fire. After extinguishing the fire, there was a charred corpse among the wreckage. He had failed to break through the dark energy, and in the end he was swallowed by the darkness. This was the result of not being strong enough. An instructor shouted, "Participant from the All-Heaven realm, Hu Lei, has failed the trial and died. Choose a day to bury him." A few guards carried Hu Lei's corpse out as if it was nothing out of the ordinary. Xin silently looked into the distance, and a trace of pity flashed in her eyes. This trace of pity did not escape the eyes of one person. It was Dora. She had been paying attention to Xin this whole time, and at some point, she had already regarded Xin as her number one threat. However, at this moment, Dora's eyes flashed with contempt. A person with pity did not deserve to be the final winner of the Chosen of God trial. The results appeared one after another, and people continued to break through. But by the time it was almost evening, There were less than 50 people who had broken through. Li Fei seemed to be a little impatient. She sat up from the bench and said, "No more waiting. Let's eat." Distribute the radiant primordial stones to the top 10 participants. Is Weisstein. 10 immortals respectfully came forward with wooden boxes. The top 10 participants received one each, and Xin also received one for himself. Although he was only in 10th place, the reward was actually the same as for first place. The moment the wooden box was opened, a dense wave of light divine power rushed out. Inside the wooden box lay a stone that glowed with faint starlight. The radiant primordial stone was the crystallization of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. After being tempered, it would become a light-type energy crystal. With a little refining, one could absorb the light divine power within it. This was not something that ordinary people could obtain. "All right, let's go eat." Li Fei looked at the sky and said, "It's getting dark. Leave 10 instructors behind to guard the other participants. The rest of you, go rest and cultivate the radiant primordial stones. The next class is in 3 days." "Yes." Li Fei remained silent as she watched the group of participants being escorted away by the guards of the celestial realm. Weisstein. Kulun couldn't help but frown and said, "Do we need to send people to protect the top 10? That radiant primordial stone is a treasure that even the great clans can't get their hands on. I think there will definitely be people who covet these radiant primordial stones." "No need." Li Fei's beautiful eyes revealed a cold light and said, "The Western Heaven Realm has always been a place where strength speaks. If you can't even protect your own spoils of war, then you don't have the right to continue staying in the Western Heaven Realm to participate in the God's chosen trial." "Yes, Weisstein is right." Kulun took a deep breath and said, "I understand." Li Fei laughed. "You're just too compassionate. After cultivating with the Lord Sovereign for so many years, you haven't learned anything but compassion." "Ha, oh Lord Ruler, is he compassionate?" "Shoo, don't say such things. Otherwise, you will be turned into ashes in minutes. I can't protect you. Even Li Fei is afraid of someone, huh? Sai, I really don't know what to do with you. Immediately report to Lord Xian about today's situation and tell her everything about Xin in detail." "Yes, this subordinate will do it now." Xin held the wooden box. She cherished this radiant primordial stone very much. This kind of treasure could only be found by chance. Moreover, Xin also faintly felt that there was still endless potential in her body that had yet to be stimulated. It was as if she was sealed, and her strength was in the recovery stage. And this radiant primordial stone would undoubtedly speed up her recovery process. She ate a lot of food during dinner. She ate a roasted chicken and drank half a pot of soup by herself. The strength in her body seemed to have been exhausted during cultivation. After eating, everyone gradually dispersed. Xin still held her wooden box and walked out of the dining hall. The path outside was pitch black, and she couldn't even see her fingers in front of her. Night had fallen. She carefully walked on the path. It was about 3 kilometers from here to the dormitory, but she seemed to have a feeling of unease in her heart. A mortal's unease might be due to psychological reasons, but a god's unease was destined to be a prophecy. A voice came from the dark forest of gods. 3 black figures slowly walked out. Their faces couldn't be seen clearly, but from their voices, it was clear that they were participants. What should come had come. "What do you want?" Xin said calmly. "Yes, ha." The black figure at the front said, "You are just a bug in the banished land. Although you are beautiful, you have no right to have the radiant primordial stone. Immediately hand over the radiant primordial stone, or else, die." You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.